Good morning, everyone. How are y'all doing? I'm doing better than yesterday, which I still am kind of bummed about, because I had to call it short. I was hoping to get through this VN pretty quickly. But it looks like that wasn't able to be the case, but oh well. I get another shot at it today because the pain's not around anymore. Doesn't mean it won't come back. Come on. 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Come on. I told you to send it. There we go. Alright. Just trying to get the bot connected with all channels. Alright. Alright. Looks like it works over there, so let me get the link shared out. But yeah, today's still the VN, and if you guys don't like VNs or visual novels, then you're free to go. But I hope you stay, especially because I am in what I think is the final arc, but I only know that, I only have that inkling because of the trophy lists, which are big on PlayStation and that. But nothing else too much. Okay. Here we go. But I don't know about that. Because yesterday I was suffering from side effects of kidney stones. Some of them don't make sense, but overall it does make sense for the States and a lot of other places. Because, yes, the States and a lot of other places are victims of car dependency. And I pity the victims, just like I pity the victims of religion. Religious people are probably pitying me too, but that's their thing about that. What I pity for them is that they just parroted a lot of their leaders. Can't blame them because that's what we as humans do a lot, too. It's not something that's really exclusive to things like Christians and that. Just people being people. But what makes me kind of pity them is just more so that a lot of religious groups, they don't allow you to think too much or such, because if you question them, then they're going to be on your case, particularly if it's the Mormons and their ilk. That's who I have problems with these days a lot, particularly the missionaries of the Mormon Church. Alright. Got everything. All the links out, so let me get through this. Like I said, though, I'm just hoping that I can make it through a whole session today. Don't have too big of plans. Find me later. An OBS wanted to update, huh? I'll just have to update that later. Let me get up the game here. Forgetting to do this. But here we are. How are you all doing? I'm doing pretty good, and I'm looking forward to getting through more of this. I don't think I'll be anywhere close to the end yet, because I had to cut stream short last time. Like I said, it's because of symptoms regarding kidney stones. So those of you that didn't come in last time, you don't have to worry about missing too much. Just missed some fragments.
冗談もほどほどにしてください。そんな言い訳で騙されませんよ。ひょっとしたらディルーさんを許せなくなるかもしれません。
Let's get into this. Stop with the jokes. You can't trick me so easily, or I might not be able to forgive you. There's nothing you need to forgive me for. Silence hung in the air a second time. Leland, she wasn't the type of person to lie for fun. She only did so if she truly needed to. Even knowing all that, I didn't want to believe what she'd said.
じゃあ、本当に西目さんとは何もなく。
So Nishime really didn't say anything?
ないわ。ヒカルには助けられた。でも、それは互いに助け合うことを約束したから。
No, Hikaru helped me, but only because we promised to help each
あ
other.
かりの思うような関係ではないわ。
We don't have the relationship you think we do. So when the time comes, you'll leave the island? Naturally, Leland said as She always does. I was overwhelmed. I understood my remarks were hypocritical since I was heading to Tokyo, but I didn't have an outlet for my anger. I didn't even know what I was angry about, or rather, I felt like I shouldn't know. The wind was strong. The day was ending. Higa, who had forbidden broodiness, was quiet.
お風呂を沸かすのを手伝ってくださらない？
Would you help me heat up the water for the bath? Kiriko was trying to take Leland away. For now, I was saved by this stout-hearted action. I'm back. It's warm out.
エアコンが効いてんな。生き返るぜ。
Phew, I love air conditioning. I'm alive again. We came back dripping in sweat. We didn't end up shopping just at the first grocery store we went to. We had to go to who knows how many places to get enough supplies. And Okinawan summers have high humidity. My helmet was steaming and my face was sticky.
おかえりなさい。
Welcome back. Higa greeted us as we came into the living room. Her intense cheeriness took me by surprise. Did something happen while I was gone? Could it be alcohol? I looked around. It didn't look like anyone brought any.
守備はどうでして？
What's your report?
買えるもんは買った。あとは何とかしろ。
We brought what we could. The rest is up to you.
夕飯はあかりが作りますよ。
I'm
何ですか？
I'm making dinner. What did you buy? Kari came up and I handed her the shopping bag. She began her inspection.
スナック菓子、わかめ、生クリーム。
Let's see. Snacks, wakame, heavy cream. Be fair, I'd react pretty much like that too. I wouldn't want to be asked to make something with what we bought.
一応聞きますけど、何が食べたいですか？
I guess I should ask what everyone wants for
串
dinner.
焼き。
Barbecue.
オムライス。
Omurice.
激辛カレー。
Spicy curry.
和牛フィレ肉のパイ包み焼き、ウェリントン風で。
Beef Wellington pot with Wagyu beef. I don't think I've had curry before, but with them talking about this right now, it kind of makes me want to try it. Although, of course, curry is Indian and not Japanese.
この食材でよくそれだけのわがままが言えますね。割とわがまま寄りのあかりでもさすがにびっくりします。
I can't believe you'd be so greedy in your requests with the ingredients we have. Even I'm surprised, and I'm greedier than most.
逆に食べられないものはありますか？
Switching gears then, is there anything anyone can eat? I was the first to raise my hand in response. I know I've bought it and all, but I don't like wakame.
辛いものが食べられません。
I can't eat anything
生
spicy.
魚と納豆は無理だわ。
I won't eat fish or natto. You don't want fish? That's crazy because fish is a good source of a lot of the vitamins we need. But then again, I've also heard that they lose vitamins and minerals when you cook them, so not too sure about that.
俺は煮えたぎるほど辛いものしか食わねえ。
I only eat scorchingly spicy food. Oh my gosh! I don't really get you, Kanashiro. It works in the summers, though.
私、和食がいいですわ。
I'm fine with Japanese food.
すごい矛盾してますけど、わざとやってます？というか、キリコは一人で矛盾してますよね。喧嘩売ってます？
What a pile of contradictions. Are you doing it on purpose, or should I say Kiriko is contradicting herself anyway? Are you trying to pick a fight? Well, for once I don't feel like punching you in the face, Akari. Because I feel exactly the same way right now.
私、気分が移ろいやすいんですの。それとも、赤積あかりには難しい注文でして？
I am a creature of whim, or could it be that it's too difficult of an order for you, Akari Katsumi? Every now and then, Goldilocks liked to make a nasty remark. I thought she'd fight back, but instead Akari groaned in
やれると
defeat.
ころまでやってみます。
I'll do the best I can, then. Can I help you? Seems a bit tricky to do it alone. When I offered to help, there was a strange pause. Akari glanced at Leland, who nodded.
では、お願いします。
Yes, thank you. It was strangely quiet today. Wasn't it supposed to rain? Okay, why did Akari look at Leland? Leland doesn't own Hikaru, and she kind of acknowledged that they weren't in a serious relationship. The rain was coming, but as a typhoon. It was just Akari and I in the kitchen. Sorting through the ingredients was the first prep step. I awaited instructions from head chef Akari.
よく考えたんですが、
I've been thinking a lot. About
あ
what?
かりの思い出を作るためのお泊まり会なのに、あかりが夕飯を作っているという状況、おかしくありませんか？
This is a sleepover to make memories with me, but I'm the one making dinner, isn't that strange? Well, everyone could have helped. 'Cause that's typical in anime. The head chef was listless. You want someone else to make it? Should I get Goldilocks?
キリコはダメです。家庭科スキルゼロなんで。
Kiriko is useless. She's got no domestic skills. That's surprising. I thought she was educated to be a
キ
lady.
リコは経営学ばっかですよ。
Kiriko only knows how to manage. Akari held the knife like she had given up. I thought some more but couldn't come up with anything.
チクショー。あかりがやりますか。西目さん、もっとあかりをねぎらってください。
Dang
手が出ません。
it. Dang it. Do I have to spell it out for you? Praise me, Nishime. I've got no motivation. What a pain.
可愛くて美人でお料理もできるのに、え、声優さんなんですか？すごーい。みたいなやつを頼みます。
You're beautiful and cute, and you can cook. What, you're a voice actor? Amazing. Something like that, please? Oh my gosh, I want to punch you in the face right now, Akari. What a pain. I slipped what I was thinking.
あかり、お別れしちゃうのが寂しいんですよね。これが最後だと思うと。
I'm going to be lonely when we part to think this is our last time together. Boo-hoo. You're beautiful and cute and you can cook. What, you're a voice actor? Amazing. I don't think that sounds sincere. But then again, that's kind of how I read it.
そうでしょう、そうでしょう。
Hehe. Just like that. There you go. Oh my gosh. It was dinner in a shell.
実際、あかりはどうなんでしょうね。
But really, I've been wondering what to do. She suddenly switched to a serious tone. Do about what?
声優として、アイドルとしてやっていけるんでしょうかね。
Make it as a singer or a voice actor. I had been absorbed in cutting the vegetables. I pulled my mind away from the blankness back into reality. I stopped cutting and looked at Akari. You can do it, I told you before.
東京の人から見てもですか？ あかり、自分で自分が井の中の蛙だと分かってるんですよね。
Even from the perspective of a Tokyoite, I know deep down that I don't know anything about that it'll be like. Even then, you're cuter than most, and while it's an amateur's opinion, I think you act well.
そうですか。
I see. Her answer was flat. Suddenly she burst out laughing.
前もこんな話しましたね。
We've talked about this before. We have, and you were a weepy mess.
そういうこと、よく面と向かって言えますね。
How
西
can,
さんだって、あかりのお風呂上がりをじっくり眺めてたくせに。
how can you say that to my face, Nishime? You even peeped at me right out of the bath. You noticed?
本当に眺めてたんですか？
Wait, you actually did? And now it feels like you deserve to be punched in the face, Hikaru. Let's see, wait, you actually did. She looked at me like I was a bug. This was
そういう
bad.
空気もやりましたね。
When exactly did this happen? It was the first day you stayed over at our place. We didn't really have a sense of distance between us. Is this what it's like when men and women live together? My imagination was causing me anguish. It probably is when both sides are thinking about sex so much. And that kind of irritates me. Like, yes, it's human nature to do that because that's how our species stays alive, but seriously, it just gets on my nerves when that happens, especially with religion and purity culture. As they say, we're not so much about sex, and it's like, no, you are. Because of your modesty rules and all that.
もうできないんですよね。あかりがいなくなると。
Well, you sure can't do that anymore since I'm leaving and all. Give me a break. You think anyone likes being embarrassed like that?
嬉しい恥ずかしいじゃないですか。
Maybe you were happy and embarrassed. Okay, I wanna punch you in the face right now, Akari. Because while that is possible to be happy and embarrassed at the same time, it just makes me wanna punch you in the face for making assumptions. Then as she chopped veggies, a smile floated to her lips. At the same time, she bumped me in the butt with her soft hips.
今だから言うんですが、
I have something to tell you. What?
ビルーさんも島を出ていくそうですよ。
Leland is leaving the island. Okay, what happened to this being a secret? Or wait, now that I think about it, this wasn't so much a secret as it was her reason for being on the island. But this seems to make me think that she's going to spill whatever secret we didn't hear. What?
あかりの時とは反応が違いすぎてマジでムカつきますね。ちょっとさしていいですか？
You didn't react like that to me leaving. Now I'm angry. Can I stab you a little? No, you cannot. That makes me want to punch you in the face right now. And two, you're showing jealousy. This isn't the time for jokes. Why is she leaving? Noah. Hey. Alright. I appreciate you coming, OC. Yeah. The bot is strict, yes, but it's helped me out before. Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of hard for that. To remember that when everyone is so much more lax, and while I can make it more lax, I don't want to after the trolls came about in one of my streams. But there you go, OC, you got a shout out. No problem, you deserve it. Let's see, no, I knew why. She accomplished her goal, so she was leaving. But I hadn't noticed anything indicating that until now. She hid it from me. But why? To fool someone. Me? Is that why? My imagination needlessly stretched out to infinity. My heart beat
詳
furiously.
しい話は本人に聞いてください。というか、あかりが漏らしたってのも言わないでくださいね。
If you want more details, ask her, but don't tell her I let it slip. With those words of caution, she said no more. All I could say was understood, but I couldn't concentrate on cooking. I just absently went back to chopping vegetables. You changed a
何
Leland.
やらキッチンが騒がしいですよね。
Oh my gosh! The sprites are pixelated. It makes sense seeing what we're seeing, but how they're doing the pixelation here is kind of funny. There's some kind of commotion going on in the kitchen.
ヒカルが何かしたんでしょ？すぐ変なことするから。
Hikaru must have done something. He does a lot of weird stuff. While Akari was getting dinner ready, Goldilocks and I were cleaning out the bathtub. Just think, an aristocrat using a sponge. That's what I thought, but Goldilocks wasn't an aristocrat, just a commoner. Nor with an air of nobility. There are lots of strange people out there.
あなたは何をぼーっと突っ立ってるんですの？
Hey, why are you staring off into space? Huh? Goldilocks had taken off her clothes.
なんで脱いでるわけ？
Why did you strip?
お風呂に入るのだから服を脱ぐに決まっているでしょ？あなたも脱ぎなさい。
You have to take off your clothes before a bath, don't you? Take yours off too.
私も？ Me too.
そうですわ。二人ずつ効率的に入らなければ時間が足りませんわ。
That's right, we won't have enough time unless we do this efficiently in twos. But I...
私は
No, but if I took off my clothes with my sewn-in amulets, my defensive power would drop. Well, Goldilocks is probably harmless. Hurry up.
分かった。
Okay. I was anxious, but Goldilocks, Akari, and Hikaru were my friends, so it'd be fine. This bathtub was twice as big as the one at Hikaru's house. There were also 2 washing stations. When I tried to get into the bathtub, Goldilocks stopped me.
ちょっと湯船に浸かる前に体を洗うんですのよ。
Wait a minute. You have to wash yourself before soaking in the tub. Now, I'm not too familiar with Japanese culture, but I kind of hear that this is definitely the case that happens around there. Because over here, and probably in the UK, it's like, you need a wash, so just hop right on in. But of course, since this is mainly used for relaxation, that does make sense. She instructed me to sit in front of the tap. She handed me the soap and told me it was good manners to wash before getting into the bath. Again, this is a Japanese thing. Not too sure about Korea and China, but definitely a Japanese thing.
ヒカルは教えてくれなかったわ。
Hikaru never taught me
女
that.
性のお風呂まで指示は難しいでしょうね。事情は理解しましたわ。
It must be hard to give a woman bathing instructions. I understand the delicacy of the situation.
名前なんだっけ？
What's your name anyway?
すごー！知らなかったんですの？
My goodness, you don't know?
キリコ、くんさでキリコですわ。いい加減覚えてくださらないこと？
Kiriko Kunsanden. I'll thank you to remember it.
キリコはあかりと一緒に入ると思ってたわ。
I thought you'd bathe with Hikari, Kiriko.
まさか。この頭を見せるわけにはいきませんもの。
No way, I don't want her to see how I look. Her hair was short like a man's. She shaved it for the ritual. It being many years before it grew back as long as her wig.
悪くないと思うけれど。
I don't think it looks bad.
私は嫌いなんですの。
I hate it.
そう。
I see. I rinsed the soap bubbles off my body under the shower. These strange devices seem to have been built for this purpose. I strangely agreed with it. After I washed my hair with shampoo, I said it was impossible to close my eyes while naked, but I was forced to wash. It was so much easier to wash with magic. This island nation is good in some ways and bad in others. You. She sank into the spacious tub. It was the first time I had tasted the luxury of stretching my arms and legs in hot water.
どうでして？大きなお風呂は。
What do you think of this big
気
tub?
持ちいいわ。
It feels great,
でしょ？温泉を引く計画もあったんですのよ。
doesn't it? At one point we had plans for a hot spring. Kiriko liked to talk about herself, about Akari. We'd only met a few times, yet she was very open with me. Then she asked me these same kind of questions. Kiriko here kind of reminds me a bit of myself and how I am, not her attitude overall that she's been portraying here in the VN, but how I am generally with the openness and such. And that, I think, helps people get close to me. That's about the biggest guess I have. But I can't say that for sure. That's probably just, again, what I think is the case since I'm open and such. About where I was born, my family, why I came to the island. The past me would have been more guarded. What was the point of these questions, I'd wonder. But recently I've come to understand. The islanders ask because they just want to know. Goldilocks wasn't doing it out of malice either.
彼のことどう思うんですの？
What do you think of
ど
him?
うしてそんなこと聞くのよ。
Why are you asking me about this?
興味ですわ。帰らない理由にはならないのかと思って。
I'm interested. Maybe it's a reason to not go home.
帰らないといけない理由ならあるわ。
I already have reasons to
そ
go.
れは話せること？
Anything you can talk about?
罰ゲームの質問にはもう答えたはずよ。
I already answered that during the punishment
で
game.
は答えられる範囲で。例えば帰ったら何をするかとか。
Then answer to whatever extent that you can. What will you do when you get
一
home?
応戦士になる予定。
Basically, I plan to become a champion.
戦士？
A champion?
村を守るために選ばれた者のこと。例えば、儀式の時に出てきた化け物がいて、それを倒すとか。
A person who is chosen to protect the village. For example, if a monster should appear during a ritual, they defeat it.
面白い職業があるんですのね。
Whoa, sounds like an interesting job. Kiriko exaggerated her surprise. For some reason, her eyes were
で
blazing.
は今の話を踏まえてもう一つだけ聞かせてくださいまし。
So, based on that, I have another question to ask you.
何？
What?
儀式に出た赤積あかりは偽物だったんでしょ？
The Akari Akatsumi in the ritual was a fake, wasn't she? She caught on! And I think she did pretty quickly, but I'm not too sure about that, because the only thing that makes me want to say otherwise is because she was like, oh, you chose not to take the opening I gave you? That's the only thing that kind of clued me against it. Otherwise, it just seems weird that she only recognized this now.
何のこと？
What are you talking about?
様子が変わったのは儀式の前の1週間でしたわ。立ち振る舞いから喋り方まで何から何までおかしくなっていましたもの。
Her manner changed about a week before the ritual. Everything, from the way she acted to the way she talked, was off somehow.
それがどうかしたの？
What does that matter?
それとは別に赤積の執事が儀式当日に港で赤積あかりを見たと主張していたそうですわ。
Not only that, but I heard from the Akatsumi butler that Akari Akatsumi was seen in the south on the day of the ritual. Well, I suspected that you already knew about it because you also sent Kanashiro there. So I don't think that the butler was your clue in.
本物は声優オーディションを受けに行っていた。そうおっしゃっていたわ。
Well, the real one was auditioning for a voiceover role, or so he
そ
said.
れで
So,
私の考えはこうですわ。まず、同時に2カ所に同一人物が存在することはできない。
here's what I think. First, one person can't be in two places at the same time. Yes, agreed, but... Again, I thought she knew before that. And yes, she said she picked up on the mannerisms of what Leland was like when she disguised herself as Akari, but seriously, why would she not know before the butler with all that she did?
なら、あの日、オーディションを受けに行った赤積あかりと、儀式を執り行った赤積あかりは、別人ということですわ。
Therefore, on that day, the Akari Katsumi who went to the audition had to be different from the Akari Katsumi who performed the ritual.
でも かりといたんでしょ？
Have you asked Akari about this? I doubt she has, for one, and again, I think she knew as much before the butler reported it. But yes, it makes sense that she'd give her explanation like that to Leland. It's just... I don't think that the butler being in on it is too much of a big deal as much as it her noticing Akari's mannerisms from being a childhood friend.
私の知る赤積あかりは、斧を振り回して化け物を追い払ったりしませんわ。
The Akari Katsumi I know wouldn't brandish an axe to scare off a monster.
誰なの？
Then who?
さあ、
Who knows?
ところで、リルーさんは華麗に屋根を飛び回り、ベニヤ板を打ちつけてくださいましたわね。
By the way, Leland, you did a marvelous job flying around the roof and hammering in the plywood. I didn't say anything. After many seconds, I finally responded.
知ってどうするつもり？あかりに何かするの？
What would you do if you knew? What would you do with Akari?
私、そこまで落ちぶれていませんわ。ただ、真相を知りたいだけ。
I'm not that upset about it. I just want to know the truth of the situation. Why?
みんな知っているのに、私だけ知らないなんて、ずるいではありませんこと？
I think it's awful that everyone else knows except for me. Kiriko pouted. I felt my whole body
前で
relax.
損したわ。
Don't get all worked up.
損したとは失礼ですわね。さ、教えてくださいまし。
I'm sorry I got upset. Please tell me.
そうね。みんな知っているし、話してもいいわ。
Okay, since everyone else knows, I'll tell you. I told Kiriko the whole story. How I used magic to turn into Akari. How the real Akari left the
驚
island.
かないのね。魔法と聞いても。
You don't seem surprised about the magic.
十分驚いてますわよ。けれど、冷静に考えると、それしかありませんわよね。
Truthfully, I am surprised, but if I think about it logically, it has to have been that.
ここでも何かできるんですの？
Hey, is there anything you can do right here?
今は炎を出すくらいよ。
I could make some fire right now. I created a fireball with the ring on my finger. Kiriko gazed, enchanted.
素敵ですわね。まるで物語に出てくる魔女。
That's no, just amazing. You're just like a witch from a fairy tale.
そんなこと言ってる場合？怒るところじゃないの？
That's what you say at a time like this? You're not mad?
私が？どうして？
Me? Whatever for?
私とあかりは、キリコを騙して、儀式から逃れようとしたのよ。
Because
キリコだ
Akari,
けを肝心なにしようとしたし、あかりは髪も剃らなかった。
because Akari and I tricked you so she could escape from the ritual, and because you were the only Kanjuna priestess, Akari didn't have to shave her hair.
けれど、そのおかげで命拾いした。あの場にいたのが本物の赤積あかりならば、私は死んでいたでしょ？
But that ended up saving my life. If she'd really been there, don't you think I'd be dead?
それは、そうだけれど。
That's... I guess you're right. Kiriko suffered a great loss. She was dedicated enough to consecrate her body and cut off her beloved hair. If I were her, I probably wouldn't be so forgiving. I'm sure I'd never let it go. And I'm glad that she's, like, acknowledging herself in Kiriko's shoes here, because a lot of times when people say, put yourself in the other person's shoes, they think that would make the person understand. But really, all the person is doing when they do that is they're just projecting their current selves onto the other person. So that doesn't really create understanding about what situation a person is in, and I'm glad that, like I said, that Leland acknowledges that she's different from Kiriko in that she wouldn't let it go as easily as Kiriko did.
私、意味のないことはしない主義なんですの。怒っても一円にもなりませんわ。
I live by not doing anything meaningless. Being angry doesn't make me 1 cent.
キリコは心が広いのね。
You've got a big heart, Kiriko.
言うほど広くはありませんでしたよ。赤津にあかりは許さない予定ですもの。
Oh, that's not true. I'm not going to forgive Akari at
ま
Katsumi.
さか、ハゲにする気？
Don't tell me you're going to shave her head.
さあ、もっとすごい目に合わせるかも。
Who knows, maybe I'll go even further than that. I got nervous. An idol having to go through something more extreme than a shaved head was pretty serious.
あかりが黙っていたのは私のせいよ。魔法は秘密ってことになってるから黙っててもらったの。
It's my fault Akari didn't say anything to you. I asked her not to say anything and keep my magic a secret.
私、敵には厳しくがモットーですの。どうしてやろうかしら。
My motto is be ruthless to enemies. Now, how shall I go about your punishment?
何でもするから、あかりには手を出さないで。
I'll do whatever you want, just don't do anything to Akari.
今、何でもするって言いましたわね。
Did you just say you'd do whatever I want?
え？
Huh?
今、何でもするって言いましたわね。
Just now, did you say you'd do whatever I want? Oh my goodness, she's going to take advantage of the situation, isn't she? It would seem I just made a terrible mistake. By the time I noticed, it was too late. What did you do to me? A sweet smell wafted from my body. The source of the smell was my hair. She is putting some medicinal salve on my head. She was also putting some slippery ointment on my face. 2
ちょっ
kinds.
としたお手入れですわ。
Time for a little TLC. I found myself sitting on a chair in the changing room. After applying various creams all over my body, Kiriko began to brush my hair. It was the first time this had ever happened to me. In my impoverished home, my mother didn't own a brush.
石を使うと髪が整うんですのよ。ほら、見違えたでしょ？
Using a brush makes your hair more manageable. I'm right, see? Kiriko wiped the steam from the mirror. My flushed face was reflected back.
別人みたい。
I looked like a completely different person. The first surprise was my hair. It was glossy as the silk you see in books. My cheeks were somehow glowing and my lips were sometimes chapped, had regained their moisture from moisture and pinkness. Well, chapped lips can also be a sign that you need some water in that, so kind of a various different roles there, depending on the situation.
見惚れるのは結構ですけれど、見せて差し上げた方がよろしいのではなくて？
It's fine to admire yourself, but wouldn't it be better to show
見
off?
せるって誰に？
To whom?
西目光に決まってますわ。
Hikaru Nishime, of
なん
course.
でわざわざ。
What are you planning?
何でもすると言っていたではありませんの。
You did say you'd do anything. And now we see the payoff. That is true. But just the thought of showing Hikaru my beautified self made my face get hot.
それ、やらないといけないの？
Can I get out of it? She's not gonna let you, Leland. You put yourself into this, even though I do sympathize with you.
ダメですわ。約束ですもの。
Nope, you promised.
約束した覚えはないんだけど。
I don't remember doing anything of the sort.
あなたのおっしゃる戦士というのは、自分で何でもすると言ったくせに、やっぱりなかったと言い出すようなものなんですのね。
These champions you speak of, do they say they'll do anything and then disavow having ever said that?
そんなことはないわ。
They don't.
なら、行きなさい。
Then go. I felt manipulated, but in a good way. Encouraged, I headed toward the living room. Change view, Hikaru. Around the time the prep work was done, Leland showed up. Her hair was damp, like she had just gotten out of the bath. When asked, she said she took a bath with Goldilocks. Somehow, defensive power-obsessed Leland was naked in front of another. I guess that's how much she's learned to trust others.
リルーさん、随分とツヤツヤになりましたね。
My Leland, you're positively glowing.
キリコにいろいろ塗られたの。
Yes, Kiriko put various things on me.
商品ですか。綺麗になりましたね。
Cosmetics, you look beautiful. Hikari was right. Leland had become a somewhat civilized person. I kinda hate how he said that, somewhat civilized person. Because that just means conforming to their standards to me, and me, I think that Leland should just go about things the way that she wants to. Like, she might like this and continue on with it, that's fine, but seriously, she should just go about her life the way that she wants. The most striking thing was the change in her hair. Just looking at how it fell straight to her shoulders, you could tell it'd be soft to run your fingers through. Her skin and fingertips, which were often rough, had also been fixed up. She's looked kinda rough until now, but she was still beautiful, like the beauty of an uncut diamond. If you polish one, it shines. I couldn't look at her straight on.
はは。で、西目さんに見せてこいと言われたわけですね。
You were told to show Nishime, right?
なあ、そんな感じ。ヒカルはどう思う？
Well, something like that. What do you think, Hikaru? You look fine.
どこ見て言ってるわけ？
Where are you looking? The ceiling. Well, you just got out of the bath, isn't it bad to stare?
いつも見てるじゃない。
You see me like this all the time. That's a sore point.
見てあげたらいいじゃないですか。
Why won't you look at her? Well, that's a good point there, Akari, but still, I hate the way that you're asking it. It's like, good point, but you're giving off dirty vibes. Beside me, Akari was shocked. If I were in her shoes, I would have had the same reaction. There was a beautiful girl here. It's the way society gives praise. But that's a generalization, it doesn't apply to me. I'm too embarrassed to look at you, there's something more different than usual.
見ない理由になってませんよ。
That's no reason not to look. That's true. Even I know that. I gotta go to the bathroom. I ran away using that lame excuse. I heard a bit of conversation calling me a loser, but I ignored it due to my current personal emergency. I had my reasons. There was no one in the hallway. Boiling heat wrapped itself around my whole body. I leaned against the wall for support and took a deep breath. I opened and closed my right hand in front of my face, to think it'd be like the last time I shuddered. Despite my anxieties, I seemed to be functioning normally. I felt a bit of peace for now. I took another breath. Reflecting on my actions, I was surprised with myself. I came to the obvious conclusion that I should have complimented her. But why didn't I? I don't know. I would if I could have. My back against the wall was damp with sweat. I was afraid of myself. I couldn't do what a normal person could. I was not a normal human. I was defective. It was to be expected. I wasn't raised properly. It'd be weird if I wasn't broken in places. When you're broken, you can't do normal
ヒカルは
things.
どう思う？
What do you think, Hikaru? I replayed my mistake over and over again. A meaningless act. Spiritual self-mutilation. Would I be forgiven if I punished myself? My thoughts were stuck in a loop.
何してるんですの？こんなところで。
What are you doing out here? Suddenly Goldilocks appeared. I didn't notice until she got this close. Just taking a
リ
break.
ルーさんには褒め言葉をかけて差し上げて。
Did you compliment Leland? So this was your doing? Though it was a casual question, I felt like shouting it in anger. However, the concern in her eyes distracted
具
me.
合が悪いんですの？
Are you feeling sick? No, I'm fine, just a bit
リ
tired.
ルーさん、島を出ていくそうですものね。
It seems that Leland is leaving the island. Yeah, he knows that, but I guess you wouldn't, which makes sense. You heard about
え
that?
え。あなたが買い出しに行っている間に。
Yes, while you were out shopping. I now had a source of info that wasn't Akari. It seemed during a casual chat it came out that Leland was planning to leave. Why didn't she say anything to me? Was she planning on just disappearing one
言
day?
わなかったのは、帰りたくない思いの表れではなくて、
Isn't the fact she didn't say anything a sign she doesn't want to leave? I wonder. I didn't think I understood Leland's feelings. I left Goldilocks and locked myself in the bathroom. I sat down on the toilet seat and breathed a sigh of relief. So warm. Even though it was summer, the warmth of the toilet seat made me feel better. I, as an outside observer, couldn't agree with Nishime's conduct, especially after Leland came to show us her newly polished appearance. Wasn't it all for Nishime's sake? I can't believe he walked away without giving her a compliment, or even just a brief look. What? Is he shy? That had to be it. Well, I still didn't think it was acceptable. It was extremely rude to Leland. For once I was disappointed in Nishime too. What should I do about that attitude? Let me make sure of that. Yeah, I read it right. Excuse me. Leland looked a size smaller. She was that dejected. What could I say to her? I wasn't really the type of person to have a serious talk, but I tried to think of a way to clear the heavy atmosphere. But I couldn't think of what Leland would want to hear, so I watched her leave in silence. I wish she had someone to comfort her.
なんだよ。急に呼び出して。
What do you want me for all of a
大した
sudden?
用事じゃないわ。こっちに来なさい。
Nothing important. Come over here. Short time later, Leland returned to the living room with Kanashiro. There's no way she filled the hole in her heart with another man. it was a shame to admit, but I was as a curiosity fiend. It's core to my being. Yeah, core to my being. I stopped prepping the food and peeked into the living room. They were facing each other, sitting close on the sofa. Shockingly close, if you asked me. Leland was the first to speak.
気分が悪いの。
I'm feeling
だ
bad.
からどうした？俺に何の関係がある？
Why is that? What do I have to do with
憂
it?
さ晴らしを手伝ってほしくて。
I want your help in distracting myself, huh?
サンドバッグになりなさい。
Be my punching bag! Are we finally gonna get it? Need some action here? With that, Leland punched Kanashiro in the face. Now if only she'd punched Kari in the face. It happened in an instant. Kanashiro took a few steps back and rubbed his face with his hand.
相当だ。あの時の借りを返してやるぜ。
Bring it on, I'll pay you back for back then. Their living room fistfight began. This is not what I expected. I knew they didn't get along, but I didn't think that their frustration would reach its peak during the sleepover. What should I do? I know, I had to stop them. But I was useless. I was too weak. Oh, what should I do? Eventually, Leland reached for Kanshiro's chest and squeezed. The one-sided battle was decided.
負けを認めたらどう？
Do you accept your
俺
defeat?
の自作グッズが声優ラジオに取り上げられたのが悔しいからって言ったんのかよ。
You resorted to violence just because my homemade merch was featured on the official voice actors radio show? No. Kanashiro didn't know the reason he was being attacked. In his mind, the main reason behind it all was fan merch. That had nothing to do with it, but Leland determinedly answered.
悔しくなんかないわ。
I don't care at all.
嘘だな。俺が声優ラジオに自作アイテムを取り上げられた話をした時、確かにお前は悔しがった。格の違いを知ってな。
Liar, you were pretty much upset when I mentioned that my homemade merch was featured on the voice actor radio show. Know your place. I listened to the show too, so I was aware of that. Kanashiro had been posting the review Konoha accessories he'd made on his super cringy chirp account called Chrono Ryu.
見せてみろよ。お前が作ったやつってのをな。
Show them to me your homemade stuff. The aggravated Leland went into her bedroom and returned with her tablet.
Twitter に投稿したらいいねをもらえたのよ。
I posted it on Chirp and got a like. She showed Kanashiro her account. I zoomed in on my phone's camera to spy on them. I saw a wand made of metal. It was amazingly well done. By the way, the account's handle was Manjo Leland. Well, I want to say that was the like, but it could just be the account. Let me make sure of that. Okay. Okay, nothing about it being her or suspicious of that way. So I'm not too sure how to take this. Manjo Leland. So it could be the account where the post was or the like. She didn't try to hide it. It had one like. Probably because it didn't have many followers. One of them was Chrono Ryu. Oh my gosh! That had to be him. Wait a minute, that account was...
なんだお前。そりゃ有名人のパクリじゃねえか。
Hey, you're just copying off a celebrity. He didn't seem to realize he was doing the same thing. And it's most likely the cognitive dissonance keeping him from admitting that Leland made the wand. On the other hand, Leland didn't seem to realize Kanashiro was the one who gave her the like. Oh my gosh.
違うっての。
And you're different?
黒の波竜のアイテムを完全再現したのは俺が初だ。
I'm the first one to perfectly recreate a Ryu Konoha prop.
さくらのアイテムなら私が初ね。
I'm the first one to do a Sakura prop.
主人公は人気だからみんなやってんだろ。
She's the popular main character, everyone does her
あん
stuff.
たの推しは人気がないのね。
And your fave is unpopular.
言っていいことと悪いことがあんだろな。
Hey you, there are things you can and can't say. Kanashiro was upset in a way I had never seen before.
私の杖が。
My wands,
俺のネックレス。
my necklace is
美しさ、
beauty,
愛の深さ。
the deep love,
造形、
the form,
高難易度。
the manufacturing difficulty. Somehow it had changed from fist fight to a war of words. As the absurdity continued, I decided to leave them alone. At least Leland had regained her spirit, so everything was fine. Hikaru. Leland was busy going between the kitchen and the living room. While I was locked in the bathroom, the final touches on dinner were finished. Everyone busied about and I felt isolated. Okay. I wanted to give a hand to whoever was closest. Unfortunately, that was currently Leland. I could have ignored her and gone to Akari instead, but she'd probably call me a
何し
loser.
てんの？暇なら手伝って。
What are you doing? If you've got time on your hands, then help out. The decision was made for me. I spoke as Leland approached. What should I
箸
do?
と皿は用意して。
Set out plates and chopsticks. Got it. It was a short exchange, but I was relieved that we were talking. I took the plates from the cupboard and placed them on the coffee table in front of the sofa. The villa didn't have a dining table. If it was just a couple of people, they could sit on stools and eat by the window, but for 6, the only thing to do was gather around the coffee table. We used small plates and ate at the sofa. It couldn't fit all of us, so 2 people would have to sit on the floor and on cushions. I took the initiative and grabbed one. I felt like punishing
西見
myself.
君に行くなら私もそうしようかな。
If Nishime's on the floor, then I'll sit there too. Iga sat next to me. The healing aura she projected soothed my spirit.
本日の夕飯ですよ。
Well, here's dinner. The finished food was brought to the table. Seeing it was enough to temporarily make me forget about my problems. It was all thanks to what had become of our ingredients. On the table was a mountain of pork over rice, fried rice with bitter melon and salad. The pork was covered with sauce. The smell alone was enough to let me know it was delicious. And I'm kind of salivating here myself too. But I've got a bit better control than these guys. On the other hand, it seemed that the fried rice was slightly salted to balance out the pork. Red and yellow bits are scattered around with the bitter melon. And for the salad, she made seaweed and potato ones, since I said I can't eat wakame. I helped with the prep, but everything else I left to Akari. I had no idea what the full picture would be. I couldn't believe it became all this. Whoa, this looks good.
でしょう、そうでしょう。もっと褒めていいんですよ。
That's right, praise me more. Oh my gosh. I want to punch you in the face right now, Akari. Akari was nothing but proud of herself. Just for today, I wouldn't hold back my praise.
では揃ったのでいただきましょう。
Well then, let's eat. And at Goldilocks' signal, we dug in. First, I put some of the pork on my plate. The juicy meat's delectable flavor spread through my mouth. I'd never get tired of this taste. The fried rice was also good. It had the right amount of pepper to excite the appetite. It was just the right palate cleanser between bites of pork. I could eat it forever, too. Before long, I was moving my spoon mindlessly, and in a flash, the mountain of food was gone. As my belly bulged, I looked around.
すごい。リルーちゃん、お箸使えるんだ。
Leland, you're amazing. You can use chopsticks? I hadn't noticed Higa moving to sit next to Leland. With 3 people sitting on something built for 2, it looked a bit cramped.
私も記憶をなくしたとき、お箸が使えなくなってて苦労したんだ。
When I lost my memory, I couldn't use chopsticks, so I had a hard time.
実は今も苦手で、うまくなるコツってあるの？
Actually, I'm still not good at it. How do you get the hang of
血
it?
の滲むような練習をすればいいわ。私はそうして身につけた。
You have to practice until you bleed. That's how I trained my body.
そんなに？
No way!
誰かに箸が使えなければこの島国では生きていけないと言われたから。
Because someone told me that if I couldn't use them, I wouldn't survive in this island country. Probably Hikaru there if I remember correctly, but that just kind of annoys me at times. Because yes, there's cultural etiquette in that, and Japan and a lot of other Asian countries use chopsticks a lot, from what I've heard. But as I think I remember talking about at the time that this came up initially, going by those etiquettes and such is just plain annoying and makes things more difficult for people like me that can only use this hand because I got that one there. And so here you've got the placement of utensils in proper settings, and as you just saw with my arms here, they cause me issues because the forks and such are on my left, the knives and such are on my right. And so I have to kind of adjust things to move the utensils to my dominant side. And it's a bit annoying even though it's supposed to be like all proper and that. And thinking about this now, it's like there are people that have a harder time with utensils than me, and even though they could still use their hands and such to eat, and I'm like, then let people use their hands if that's easiest for them. Stop forcing your values onto somebody else. But Leland here seems to be quite receptive to things. She's not too much aware of things to be able to think clearly on all subject matter, but she also has enough to think clearly on the things that matter, like how she made Higa give up her notebook. And that's why I like her. You mean me? It was a pointed comment. I nearly spit out my water.
私はフォークでいいって言ったのに、ヒカルが無理やり。
I said I could use a fork, but Hikaru forced me to
無
learn.
理やりどうしたんですか？その単語を聞くと、あかりは無性に興奮してくるんです。
What do you mean forced? Hearing that word is exciting. And I want to punch you in the face for saying that, Akari.
無理やりなんですね。この胸のときめきは何ですか？恋ですか？
First, what do you mean by that? What is this beating of my heart? Could it be love? And that's exactly why I want to punch you in the face, Akari. Unlikely.
フォークでいいのは同意だな。その方がかっこいい。
Besides, it's fine to just use a fork, it's cooler. How is using just a fork cooler? Because a fork is a lot less something that you have to think about and such. Like, sure, with them you don't have to think about the chopsticks, it's all down to muscle memory. But a fork just seems a lot simpler, so I don't know how that could be cooler. Now, using a knife, maybe that would be cooler, because I think that's how we used to, eat things, and then we had all these dedicated tools or utensils to make everything work out that way. The knife and fork using Kaneshiro cut in. For some reason he had a handkerchief and frequently wiped his mouth. I felt a sense of admiration that he doesn't even try to hide his affect. Sheesh.
ナイフ2本の方がかっこいいと思います。
I want to go back to that. Felt a sense of admiration that he doesn't even try to feel his affectation. Still hard for me to say that. I think it'd be even cooler to use 2 knives. So Kari wants to use twin blades. Well, I can only use 1 knife or 1 fork. And that's kind of why I just use the fork and use the side of it to cut things. Because typically you'd be using 1 hand to hold the fork, and then the other to cut. That's how a lot of people do it. But I cannot do that at all. And so, there's only 2 methods that I can use to deal with things that are too big to get at. There's either 1, use force to cut down with the utensil I'm using, will it be that a spoon or a fork, or I just stab into it and bite until I can fully pick it up. If people have a problem with that, that's their problem. Because I don't care. It's me trying to get things to work to the best of my ability. I think it'd be even cooler to use 2 knives.
よし、ナイフをもう1本持ってこよう。
You some kind of genius? Okay, I'm gonna get another knife. Oh my gosh. That was hilarious. True to his word, Kaneshiro actually brought over another one. He began dual-wielding his dinner. He was more of a goofball than I thought.
私もフォークがいいな。持ってこよ。
I'll use a fork to hand one here. He gave up on chopsticks too. And when I checked Akari, it also switched to forks. You do know that using a fork won't help you get big boobs, right? Well, neither would chopsticks.
何を言うんですか、西目さん。あかりは箸を使うのが苦手なので、フォークにするだけですからね。
What are you talking about, Nishime? I'm using a fork because I'm not good with chopsticks, that's all. She protested in vain.
金城、片方はフォークでしてよ。以前に教えたでしょ。
Kaneshiro, aren't you supposed to have your fork in 1 hand? I taught you that, remember? Oh my gosh, even she's getting on his case. Just let him do as he wants.
うるせえな。 何年前の話だよ。
Shut it, that was a long time ago. Opposite the dual knife wielding Kanashiro, Goldilocks was trying to teach him about manners. And Kiriko's manners here that she's going on about, that's kind of what I was going on about earlier, is how that's nearly impossible for me, so I just do what's best for me. Sanitary or whatever be damned. It seemed like a useless effort.
お茶を入れたわ。
I'll make some tea. A bit later, Leland brought out the pot. It was after dinner she served Jasmine tea.
あら、ありがとう。気が利くんですのね。
My thank you, how
習
thoughtful.
慣なだけ。誰かが食後にお茶を飲まないと落ち着かないらしいから。
It's a habit. A certain someone apparently can't relax unless they have a cup of tea after dinner. You mean me? That makes two jabs. I wondered if this was because of what happened earlier. It is all my fault, so I deserved it. I took my tea and breathed deeply. It had been a pretty lively dinner on the whole. After dinner, we took turns in the bath. Akari and Higo went first, and Kanashiro and I would be last. While they were in the bath, we cleaned up. We put the TV on in the background while we cleaned the table. The typhoon is heading northward and increasing in strength. It is expected to pass over the west side of Okinawa soon. Had it sped up since the news from this afternoon, it looked like it hit about midnight. If the rattling windows were any indication, the wind was already dangerously high. Every now and then it sounded like the call of some wild animal.
風が鳴いている。
The wind is howling. Kanashiro was absorbed by the window. He was looking outside through the gap in the curtains. It'd be just the right time for lightning to flash.
様子を見に行くか。
Check it out, Nishime. Check what out?
海だよ。海に行けばもっといい風に出会える。
The sea. If we went out there, the wind would be even better. No way, that's so dangerous.
なら荒れ狂う波だって知
We can calm the raging waves. Kanashiro wants to be Lieutenant Dan, folks. No, we can't.
いいお湯だった。
That was a nice bath. What are you two doing? Just then Higa came back. The wonderful smell of her hair made my heart race. Her flushed, fresh out of the bath cheeks were also exciting. Nothing much, just looking outside.
強いもんね。
The wind is strong. She leaned forward. My body absorbed the heat that emanated from her body. Hee hee hee.
西目くんも男の子だね。嵐で喜んでるんだ。
You're a guy, Nishime. Do you like storms? No, yes, is what I answered. That was a bit gross even for me. Hey, Nishime. Akari poked my back. Her face was serious. I could tell it was important business, so he stepped away from the window. Near the couch, Akari whispered in my ear.
比嘉さんのおっぱいを知りたくありませんか？
Do you want to know about Higa's boobs? Honestly, Akari, I want to punch you in the face right now. Hikaru probably wants to because he's perverted, but I'm going, why should I care? What about
これ
them?
くらいでしたよ。
They're about this big. Her palms are barely rounded. Her fingers only slightly bent. They didn't look like they could hold on to them at all. But were they really that big? It's a bit much, isn't it? I said the opposite of what I thought.
西目さんなら乗ってくれると思ったのに。
What? I thought you'd be more enthusiastic about this. Well, I kind of would have expected it too. Now I was, but I'm like, why should I care? I'm a normal person, don't make me into a perv.
遊んでないでお風呂に入ってくださらない？停電しても知りませんわよ。
Will you stop playing around and get in the bath? We don't know when the power will go out. Goldilocks was irritated. Does that usually happen?
山の中ですもの。飛来物なんてそこら中から発生しますわ。
We're in the mountains. Debris can come flying in from anywhere. Mostly the tree branches, apparently. And if they got caught in the power lines along the road, the power would go out. So there was a very high chance. Kaneshiro and I headed to the bath. Leland was no longer in the living room, but I pretended not to notice. Leland's view, huh? After dinner I went up to the bedroom alone. The air conditioning and lights are still on. I guess whoever was in here last forgot to turn them off. I sat down in the shadow of the bed. I didn't feel like talking to anyone. I couldn't concentrate on conversation. I couldn't concentrate on food. I was just thinking of the same things over and over. Shouldn't I go home? I shouldn't hesitate. I couldn't afford to. As an aspiring champion, this shouldn't happen. A champion was noble, brave, and unwavering. I was fine in the beginning. So why did I feel all mixed up? It hurt. I wanted to run away. I didn't want to go back. I kept thinking of things I didn't want to dwell on.
ヒカルはどう思う？
What do you think, Hikaru? You look fine.
どこ見て言ってるわけ？
Let's see. Where are you looking? Hikaru wouldn't look at me. He was pushing me to go home. The same thing happened when he called to me at the beach. I looked at him so passionately, but he didn't say anything. His attitude said I wasn't worth it. I should welcome it. I had promised to leave once my job was done, and that meant leaving Hikaru. I shouldn't get distracted. We lived in two different worlds. I knew we couldn't be together from the start. It was wrong from any angle. This is a perfect ending. So what was I hoping for? That he'd say I like you? That he'd say don't go? My chest tightened with these contradictory thoughts. Living in the same house, eating together. He saw me as human. He gave me the kindest words anyone ever said to me. I couldn't help but like them. But those kinds of kindness were normal for Hikaru. I had nothing to offer him. How could he ever like me? If Hikaru liked me, maybe I'd stay here. What about my mission? If he just stopped me from leaving, that would be it. I was surprised to feel something akin to resentment. I was a witch. A cursed, unholy creature. I was probably a bad match for him to begin with. I suppressed my sobs. I wanted someone to hear me, but I also didn't want them to see me so weak. My value was in my strength. If I lost that, I'd be abandoned. No one believed in me until now, so it was given that it'd be that way from now on too. A weak witch who couldn't get stronger. That was me. I took out my tablet. Wanting human connection, I opened Chirp. I didn't have to seem like a local on this. You change Akari.
しょうがねえな。
Gee.
少し面を貸せ。
Jeez. Hey, come over here.
私まったく。手短に頼みますわよ。
Me, oh fine, but make it quick. Once we were all done bathing, we lazed about in the living room. As I watched TV, Kaneshiro took Kiriko out of the room while playing with his phone. They were an unexpected couple, so I watched them go. What couldn't they talk about in here? My curiosity was piqued, but there were only a few possible reasons. Poor Kiriko. Imagine getting mugged by the thug you invited to your villa. While I was thinking that, I noticed them by the door beckoning me over. Ishimi and Higo were also in the room, but I was apparently the one they wanted.
あかりはなんで呼び出されたんですか？
You wanted the one and only Akari? The air conditioner didn't work well in the humid hallway, and I could faintly smell the bath. Kaneshiro, his back against the wall by the stairs, held out his phone.
あんまり詳しくは見せられないんだがな。
I can't show you too many
何の
details.
話ですか？
What are you talking
読め
about?
ばわかる。
Read it and you'll get it. I wondered at his brusque explanation, but looked at the phone like he said. Chirp was pulled up on his screen. I'm disgusted by my own weakness. Sometimes I want to give into my fleeting feelings and give up my original plans, even though I have a mission to accomplish. The posts were a thread describing the writer's anguish. The stiff writing continued, making me think of classic literature. Boiling it down, the writer was feeling torn between their mission or their heart, and they were worrying over that.
これが一体どうしたんですか？
What is this even? I scrolled up with trepidation and suddenly found an illustration of a magical girl. Similar posts followed. Their thoughts on an anime DVD, their dissatisfaction with a fan comic, and their own homemade metal wand.
このアカウントはまさか。
This account it can't be. It couldn't be. She wasn't good with technology. No, I had seen it. She boasted about posting her wand on Chirp. This account was Leland's. Why was Kaneshiro? When I looked back up at him, he had a terribly serious expression. It made his usual antics seem hard to believe. No way.
ディルーさんのアカウントだと知っていたんですか？
Did you know this was Leland's account? That was all I could think of. Pretending to not know he had already matched it to Leland.
今、重要なのはそこじゃねえだろ。
That's not what matters right now. His words cut. However, Kaneshiro was
私
right.
たちは重大な事実を知ってしまいましたわ。
We know this is a grave
ここに
situation.
記された内容によれば、どうやら彼女は帰ることを決心したわけではないようですもの。
According to what she wrote, she hasn't made up her mind to leave
なれ
yet.
ばこそ、私たちが取るべき道は一つではなくて、
Thus, we have only one path to choose from, correct? I think that they're gonna make her go for her heart, and that would be pretty much the best move for her. Because we get only one shot at life, and we need to make it so that we live our happiest. That's kind of what our families want if they're good families and such. But at the same time, our families are also kind of victims of what they grew up with, so they don't know what we need a lot of the time. For me, I need to be in a walkable area so that I can live on my fullest and use all my resources and that. But for someone else, it's a bit different.
意外ですね。 キリコが他人の恋愛に口を挟むなんて。
How surprising. I didn't expect you to meddle in other people's lives, Kiriko.
言い出したのは私ではありませんでしたよ。
I wasn't the one who thought of this. Kiriko gestured toward Kaneshiro with her
ちょっ
head.
と意外ですね。
More and more
うっ
surprising.
せえな。見ちまったんだから仕方ねえだろ。放っておけったのか？
Shut up, I saw it, so I gotta do something. Want me to leave it alone?
悪いとは言ってませんよ。人情味あふれる行いが意外だと言っているだけです。
I didn't mean anything by it, just that I was surprised you were overflowing with the milk of human kindness. Oh my gosh. But pretty much, I would be asking Leland what she wants. It doesn't matter her mission. It matters more what she wants. And that's how I try to help people a lot of the time. It's the person getting them to what they want. And encouraging them. I don't go above and beyond for people. At least to me. Others say that I do. But to me, it's more so that I try to push them in the direction they want to go.
バカにしてんのか？
You making fun of me? He was obviously embarrassed. He also seemed to think he was acting out of character.
どうするんですか？リルーさんと西目さんをくっつける感じですか？
So what do? We gotta get Leland and Nishime together, right?
最終的な決定は本人がすべきと考えますわ。
はい
使命を果たして帰るのか、あるいは残るのか。
I think we should leave it up to her. Will she fulfill her mission or will she stay? Well, it's not a bad way to go about this, Kiriko. But I would actually voice it. Because Kiriko is kind of the same mindset as I am. And I would just voice it, like I said, of what does she want? I'm not perfect in those categories, particularly because I'm trying to also, at times, push my mom over into reality. Because from what I've seen growing up and a lot of people around me, when you're old enough to have your license taken away from you because you're not fit to drive anymore, so you essentially have to surrender it, old people, at least here, are kind of grief-stricken that they lose their independence because of that. And then you've got people like me that do desire our independence a lot, but we also know the big factors surrounding it, which is all human mistakes. People think that we can't reverse them, and we definitely can't in a short amount of time. But everything done by man, except for taking another life, is definitely something that can be reversed. At least most of the time. If you're talking about trauma, then that might not be able to be reversible, but we have to learn to live with that trauma. I think we should leave it up to her. Will she fulfill her mission or
ただ、
will she
私の目
stay?
には残りたいように映りましたし、残ると決意するための条件も明確。
However, to my eyes, it's pretty clear she wants to stay and the conditions for that are spelled out. Well, yes, and I'm pretty certain that it's obvious to me too and everyone else that what she wants is like Claire's day there. But again, I would go to Leland and ask her what does she want out of this and try and push her in that direction.
その手助けをするのは友人として正しいと思いますわ。
It's only right for a friend to help with that.
西目さんがリルーさんを引き止めるように仕向けるですね。
We have to get Nishime to stop Leland. Well, yes, the way that this story is going, it makes sense. Especially because we heard that it's Leland say that she wants Nishime to stop her from going. But in all honesty, not even he can stop her. She's the one that ultimately decides. That's the case in a lot of matters. Especially when concerning people that unalive themselves. It's a sad thing. But the ones that are ultimately responsible for whether they go through with that or not is themselves. We, as bystanders, we can't do anything but provide a support circle. And that's the reality of it. So the best that we can do is just get people to the point of what they want to do. To try and be happy and live their own lives so that they can be content.
それだけで彼女は心を決めるでしょう。その意味で問題の本質は彼女にはないのでしょう。
Exactly, then it's up to her heart to decide. In effort, she's not the real problem.
西目さんのヘタレですね。あかり的にはあれは治らないと思いますが。
It's because Nishime is a loser. Personally, I don't see that changing anytime soon.
魔導書を貸し借りする仲じゃなきゃ殴っておしまいなんだがな。
If I wasn't trading grimoires back and forth, this would be over in one
どう
punch.
せ西目さんもリルーさんラブなので、あかりは荒領事も視野に入れていいと思いますが。
For Nishime and Leland's love, I also think it's time for drastic
私は
measures.
反対ですわ。本人の意思を最大限に尊重すべきと思います。
I'm against it. We ought to respect what they want. And I'm here on Kiriko's side on this one.
では、どうするんですか？
Then what do we do?
まあ、少し考えてみますわ。
Let me think a bit. Kiriko became our commanding officer. I had a heavy burden on my shoulders. Kaneshiro was unsuitable for duty.
比嘉さんには声をかけないんですか？
Should we tell Higa?
あの人は余計なことをしますわ。
するだろう。
We don't need her. No need for her. Apparently they didn't believe in her. What a poor 24-year-old.
台風が来る前に点検をしたいんですの。
I want to do an inspection before the typhoon hits. Kiriko had gathered everyone in the living room. We were breaking off into pairs, checking around the house. Operation a typhoon inspection, just the two of us. We'll get closer during the storm. Oh my gosh. Not a bad way about this, but I hate it. That was the plan. Not that Nishime knew he was spacing out. And since Kiriko was in charge, he was passive. The pairing would be up to us.
じゃあ、俺は赤積と見て回るわ。
Well, I'll look around with Akatsumi. Kaneshiro said my name. I was sure that he would have gone with Higa. But as long as Nishime and Leland paired up, it didn't matter who was left. Let's go. I left the living room with Kanashiro. Kiriko, the rest is up to you. Leland's view. Kiriko called me downstairs saying we were going to do a typhoon inspection. The storm was going to be stronger than expected. Doing something was better than being curled up in the bedroom. This suited me better.
私たちもペアを決めましょう。
We're figuring out our pairs. Akari went with Kanashiro, so that left the four of us. I was a little worried about Akari, but I didn't have the energy to speak. She'd probably be fine. Kanashiro was bad guy, but not enough to be cruel to Akari.
リルーさんは西目さんと一緒に見てくださる？
Leland, would you look around with Nishime? Huh? What an idiotic response, no problem. At least that was what I wanted to say, but I couldn't. Why is that? We were always together, but today for some reason it felt different. At my silence, Kiriko frowned her eyebrows. Hikaru and I would be a pair from the four left. It was a natural combination. She must not have expected any objections. I didn't want to object either. I wanted to talk to Hikaru. Despite my clear wishes, I couldn't think of any words to express them.
やだ、私リルーちゃんと一緒がいい。
No, I want to go with Leland. Huh?
だって全然お話しするチャンスがなかったんだもん。いいでしょ？
I haven't gotten any chances to talk with her. It's alright, isn't it? Iga shoved herself into the space between Hikaru and me.
何を言っているんですの？そんな横暴な。
What are you saying of all the high-handed...
ふふふ。止めたければ力ずくで止めてみるんだね。
Wahahaha. You got the power to stop me, go ahead.
わがままを言わないでくださいまし。
Stop being so
わ
childish.
がままなのはどっちかな？
Who's the childish one? Higa's tone of voice was calm throughout. She spoke to Kiriko as if she was admonishing her.
人のことに口出ししすぎるのは私は反対だな。
You shouldn't meddle too much in the affairs of others. Exactly, Higa.
何のことを言っているんでして？
What are you talking about?
そう何のことだろう？
I wonder. Higa said it with calm innocence. They glared at each other for a long time. Finally, Kiriko sighed.
わかりましたわ。この場はあなたにお譲りいたします。
Fine, I'll leave it to you. Higa said something to her and it looked like Kiriko broke. What could they have been talking about?
じゃ、決まりだね。ほら、二人は2階でも見てきてよ。
There, that's settled. Why don't you two check the second floor? Higa shooed Hikaru and Kiriko out of the living room. It was overbearing of her, but she saved me. I breathed a sigh of relief. But a doubt entered my
比
mind.
嘉はどうして私を選んだの？
Higa, why did you choose me?
仲良くしたいと思ったからだよ。
I thought we could get to know each other
ノート
better.
のことがあったのに。
What about the notebook?
私は気にしてないよ。おばあちゃんと会わせてくれたし、むしろ感謝してるくらい。
Not interested. I'm more thankful that I got to meet
嘘
Grandma.
よ。
Liar.
本当。だから、リルーちゃんの力にもなりたくて。
It's true, that's why I wanted to help
帰
you.
らないといけない理由って何なのかな？
Why is it you have to go home? I like what Higa's doing here. It's kind of about the same route that I would have gone about it. Sure, I said that I would be saying what do I want to, what does Leland want to do? But this is just another way to phrase it. And it's also a good lead-in to it, but I don't know if she'll do it. I'm just saying that this is a good lead-in to Good way to broach it in the way that I would go about things.
比嘉には関係ない話よ。
That has nothing to do with
でも
you.
悩んでるんでしょ？帰るかどうか。
But you're worried, right, about leaving?
私は味方だよ。
I'm a friend.
ずるい言い方ね。
That's a selfish way to talk. They told me it was a secret mission. I kept it that way for a long time, but now I was ready to talk about it. My thinking had changed since I arrived here. I was just so tired. More than anything, Higa created an air to make me feel like talking.
話すと長くなるわよ。
The story's kinda long, though.
大丈夫だよ。全部聞くから。
That's fine, I'll listen to everything. Higa leaned forward. I really didn't know what was so interesting about my story.
どこから話せばいいのかもわからないけど。
I'm not exactly
村の話からしないといけないかも。
I'm not exactly sure where to begin. I know. I'll start by telling you about the village. I thought about my hometown and followed my memories. Remembering brought on nostalgia. As I went through each memory one by one, I told my story to Higa. The story of my life, which I had never told anyone. The village where I was born was surrounded by parched earth. The only source of water was a river that cut across a field off. Even though we had a family farm, our harvest was poor. Of the little we could get, half we could keep, and the other was taxed. Let's see, make sure that was right. Yeah. In years when weather was bad, my family would run out of food. There were 5 of us in total. I was the eldest girl. Life was hard, but we were a tight-knit family. We'd all sleep all together in the same room. We'd wake up together, eat together, work together, and then sleep again. Each day would repeat. If I close my eyes, I can still remember the house. My main impression is the village at night. As the dry wind blew in the dark, I'd hear the sound of sand hitting the plants. I'd fall asleep listening to that, holding my siblings in my arms. My father was always singing. My mother was the earth, my father was the sun. They give everything life. I too was a child born of earth. The same as the beasts, the crops, and the birds. It was a difficult song. I only understood about half of it at the time. I don't know why, but I remember it on windy nights. That life came to an end the winter I turned 11. That day, the cold rain killed the crops. My parents wanted me to find work. I readily agreed. I knew we were poor, so I wanted to do anything I could to help alleviate that. My mother cried as she thanked me and hugged me as hard as she could. My father said he was sorry I had to experience such hardship and cried as well, but I wasn't sad. I took pride in my parents' gratitude, and besides, we were connected by the earth. On the day of my departure, I was picked up by a man who said he was a relative. They told me I'd be working far away and I'd have to endure a trip of many days. We got on a ship, and when I couldn't see anything beyond the big lake we were sailing on, I got a little bit uneasy. There was water everywhere I looked. Could it be that it wasn't connected to the earth at all? I missed my family. I pushed these feelings down and acted brave. The journey lasted about 10 days when we finally arrived at a house surrounded by forest. You're going to work here from now on, the man told me. It was only later that I found out it was a witch's house.
魔女ってなんだっけ？
A witch, what's that?
魔女は 闇の神が生み出した邪悪な魔法を使う汚れた女のこと。
Witches are created by dark gods, corrupt women who use evil magic.
闇の魔法は禁忌とされていて、存在自体が恐れられていたわ。
Using dark magic is forbidden, so their very existence is terrifying.
男の人は魔法使い？
Well, did the man use magic?
男は闇の魔法を使えないのよ。
The man did not use dark magic, because the dark gods only loved women. Another reason is that only women can use life magic. In general, women can handle more magic than
そう
men.
なんだ。邪悪な魔法なのに、どうして使うの？
I see, so why did they use evil
強いか
magic?
らよ。
It's strong. Darkness is the absence of light. It's a curse, a negative, a void. It brings death, rots the soul, and extinguishes light. Darkness excels in taking away.
怖いね。
That's scary.
だから、後ろ暗い目的に使われたわ。
So as a result, it was used for shady purposes. Nobles especially liked witches and employed many of them. Not just to drive others away, but also to protect themselves. Because the only way to defend against dark magic was with dark magic. A witch's very existence was tainted. They were criminals who touched the taboo. That was the appearance they kept up, but most nobles were in contact with witches behind the scenes. Witches had tact approval from them. Some nobles even actively funded them. A witch with a noble patron could conduct magic research. Sometimes they'd kidnap people's sacrifices, but if the goal was research, the nobles didn't blame the witches. The people's hatred and fear became stronger, and that's how their current reputation came to
リ
be.
ルーちゃん、そんな怖い人のところで働いてたの？
You worked for someone that terrifying? Yes. I was the witch's slave. My duties were mainly to look after the household, laundry, cleaning, and occasionally feeding the sacrifice. A slave had such low value that they were never used as a sacrifice themselves. On the other hand, I got 2 meals a day, a hard bread and cheese. My bed was a board covered with cloth. Some slaves grew weak and
月
died.
にはね、3人の魔女がいたわ。
3 witches lived in the house. The most fearsome one was an elderly one. She never said a word. If she lifted her arms, I'd dress her. If she pinged her glass, I'd pour her water. She didn't allow any verbal communication. The second scariest was the daughter witch. She was always in a foul mood. It's because her daughter, that is to say, the granddaughter, couldn't use magic well. Why didn't she have the gift? Why wasn't she living up to my expectations? The daughter witch filled the house with her angry laments. The third was the granddaughter witch. She was a very prideful girl. She wasn't satisfied unless she was the best in everything. She'd force the slaves to play with her. To her, the slaves were just playthings. The only kind of magic the granddaughter was good at was torture. It seemed to be her emotional anchor, and she'd pick on the slaves every day. All the slaves lived with grave expressions. My spirit was also dead, and I lived each day numb. Conversely, the townsfolk were kind. Many people lived in the town at the edge of the forest. The slaves went there to buy things. It must be tough living there with those witches. Say hello to the witches for me. I threw in a little something extra. If a witch's slave was angered, they'd go back and tell the witch. At least that was what the people believed, so they were very considerate of the slaves who came to shop. By that I mean they didn't shun us or throw things at us. But for us slaves who suffered daily, it was the only place we were treated like people. Shopping duty consoled us. I believed that my work had an end. If I work hard, I'll go back to my family, I thought. But when 6 months passed, I realized that would not be happening. I would never stop caring for the witches. I was going to be there forever. I never stopped missing my family. Every night in bed, I thought about my mother and siblings. I wonder if they can sleep without me. I cried every night. The slaves all shared the same room, so if someone cried, everyone could hear it. Sobbing was like an infection, so soon everyone would be. One of the slaves was younger than me. She'd mumble, "Mommy," in her sleep, but one day she got the white clothes of the granddaughter dirty and was killed. I thought about running away, however no one had been successful yet. Every runaway slave had always been caught, and then given a painful death. Even so, I didn't give up. I wanted to be with my family again. Day after day, I fought, and eventually an idea came to me. I'd become a champion.
戦士戦士
A champion. A champion. A champion. What is it?
なんでもないよ。戦士って何？
Oh, nothing. What is a champion?
私の村には戦士と呼ばれる人たちがいたの。
There were people called that in my village. You could only be called one if you'd mastered the arts of war. They were just as influential as the village chief, and were always respected.
強いの？
So they're strong?
村で一番ね。
The strongest in the village. To become a champion, you had to win the village martial arts tournament or show your mastery some other way. In the second case, something like defeating a legendary beast by yourself. I formulated a plan. First, I'd gain the commensurate power of a champion. Then I'd send a letter to the village chief telling them of my strength. Then they'd take me in as one. Champions were mighty and few in number. They shouldn't be working in a place far from the village. I was sure the village chief would call me back. In my child's mind, it seemed like a good idea and I was proud of it. Even though you were sold into slavery, huh? I was sure it would succeed. I once saw a champion try to leave the village, and the chief stopped him. If only I could become one myself, things would be different. But how could I get that strong? I had a secret scheme. I was in a witch's house.
魔法を教えてください。
Please teach me magic. I begged the crone. Though I'd become a defiled entity, my younger self had no hesitation. I believed as long as I obtained power, I didn't care what kind of terror I became. Rather, my biggest worry wasn't if I'd become a witch, but how I was to become one. It was an act of courage to ask her to teach me. I'd probably be severely punished if my request was too brazen. The old woman ignored me. No matter how much I begged, nothing changed. She treated me like I was nothing. But I'll change once I said in exchange, I'll become a sacrifice instead. If you become a sacrifice, you die. If you die, you won't be able to learn magic. Do you not understand that? It was the first time the crone had answered me. I grabbed up the
失敗
opportunity.
するかもしれない。
You might fail the ritual. I can't believe you have the gall to say that in front of a witch. Still, you understand the essence of magic quite well.
代償がなければ願いは叶わない。
No wish comes without a price. The crone said this all the time. Perhaps she liked my answer. She gave a satisfied snort. Interesting. Don't you come from where the nights are deep? He might be interested in you. Try being a sacrifice. If I fail, I'll teach you magic. The ritual failed without incident. The old witch kept her promise and began to teach me magic. The first step was teaching me to read, then how to use magic stones, then how to cast spells. Luckily, I had a talent for using dark magic, much more than the granddaughter. She was furious, but she could no longer hurt me. She was afraid. Oh, there was no but in there. It was just but she could no longer hurt me. So she was afraid. When I first succeeded at magic, I was given a Yurden emblem. It meant I had finally become a witch. My world turned upside down. The slaves that I shared a room with were all scared of me. Their faces grew fearful when I approached and they begged my forgiveness. I was no longer accepted by them. The same thing happened with the villagers. When I took a walk, they ran away from me. No one would sell me anything. But when I told them I'd use magic on them if they didn't, they all had to agree. The same villagers who used to care about me now cursed me with the same mouth. They'd glare at me with a face that said, "Don't come back." Even so, no one laid a finger on me. Rather, if I came near them, they started begging for their lives. That was the evil power I had acquired. The power to bring people to their knees and make their desires come true. In the spring of the year I turned 15, I was called back to the village. As I'd been writing to him for some time, perhaps he'd heard rumors of my power. I finally returned after approximately 5 years. The earth was as parched as always, and the wind still blew dryly at night. Nothing had changed. I called you back for one reason. I have a job for you. My summons from the village chief led me to a mountain on the outskirts of the village. Find the dark god living in this cave. There was a deep cavern at the base of the mountain. According to the village legend, it extended into the bowels of the earth. That was where the evil gods lived, and every now and then they'd escape and cause disaster.
どうするんですか?
Look for him and then what? You don't need to know that, just search.
見つけたら褒美はありますか?
And if I find him, is there a reward? Of course, just name it.
戦士に私を戦士にしてください.
A champion, please make me a champion. Very well, if you find the dark god, I will recognize you as a champion.
戦士になれば村で引き取ってもらえますか?
If that happens, will the village take me in? I had been told my return was only temporary. Once the task was done, I had to go back to the witch's house again, so I asked him just to make sure. Of course, once you're a champion, I'll buy you back. Yep, she was sold into slavery.
ありがとうございます.
Thank you so much. Conversation went so well, I felt like dancing. These are the reserve funds. Give them to your family. The village chief gave me a bag filled with copper coins. For someone as poor as me, it was too much. After we were done talking, I made my way back home for the first time after so long. It was even more run down than when I lived there. I'm home. My mother and father greeted me when I walked inside. My mother's stomach was bulging a little.
新しい家族が増えるの?
Is our family going to get bigger? Yes, though I'm not sure when he'll be born.
変なの? 4人目なんだからなんとなくわかるんじゃないの?
Strange, I think you'd know by your fourth kid. Well, your old mother's not all that smart.
どうして座らないの?
Why don't you sit down? I expressed my doubts. My mother and father had remained standing ever since I came in. The only one sitting on the rug was me. Let's talk outside for a minute. Dad took me out of the house. We came to a small hill in the opposite direction of the river. It was thick with stunted trees that you couldn't see through. My father spoke with a serious face. Don't come back to the house until dark. That made no sense. It confused
どうして
me.
言っちゃいけないの？
But why can't I come? You know what they say about you in the village? If we talk during the day, what do you think is going to happen?
本当にわからないんだけど。
But I really don't know. When I expressed my anger, my father grew silent like he was afraid. He put his hand to his forehead and we continued to wander through the trees. Eventually he told me all about the village. All of them knew that I was sold to a house of witches. Witches were unclean. They had fallen to the darkness. Such knowledge was known in bits and pieces out in the rural areas. But because the dislike was so far removed from real witches, it was a different form than the kind found in the city. Everyone in the village believes your return will bring disaster. It may be the chief's decision, but their blame is directed toward me. I've got a new baby on the way and I need everyone's help. Try to understand my position.
何をどう分かればいいの？
What do you want me to do? I told you just now, don't come back to the house till dark and don't let anyone see you, okay? My father spoke quickly before leaving, like he was trying to escape. I stood motionless and dumbfounded on top of the hill. My father's words cut into my heart. There must be some kind of mistake. Where was my family? The one I had longed to see. I kept them in my thoughts all this time and endured the life of a slave. I had even become a witch. I feel sad for her here, but I'm not surprised that this is going on because this is a lot like how things are reportedly about in the Jehovah's Witnesses area, but I can only confirm that this kind of thing is like as it is in the Mormons. They don't outright shun you in Mormonism like they can with Jehovah's Witnesses, at least what I've heard about those guys, but you just aren't part of the in crowd if you're that different from them. All to live with my family once more. It's good to see everyone, but my father wasn't happy to see me. I sat until evening, hugging my knees. I was sure my father would come back. I went too far today. It was just a misunderstanding, he'd say. We'd go back home where my mom would have made dinner. I'm sure of it. I was wrong. Before long, the sun set and the moon rose. The earth was cold, a chill wind began to blow, and my father hadn't come. Reluctantly, I stood up and headed toward my home. The village was eerily quiet. It was quiet late, so no one was out walking. In front of my house, I took a deep breath. On the door, there were charms against magic, made of animal bones. I pushed on it with all my might. The family was just about to have dinner. It was a small house with just one room, so when I opened the door, I saw 4 people sitting on the rug. My mother was distributing soup, but her expression hardened upon seeing my face. My father's face did the same. My little sister saw me for just a moment and started crying, and hid behind my mother's back. I watched my family from afar. There were only 4 bowls. Upon taking one step, my sister cried even louder. My father spoke. Why did you come here? You're scaring the children. What are you saying? I don't understand you at all. I'm also one of your children. I wanted to say it to him so badly, but I felt that my efforts would be in vain.
村長が準備金にって。
Here, reserve funds from the chief. I gave him the bag the chief had given me. On seeing how heavy it was, my father swallowed hard. What do you mean? Why would the chief? I explained our conversation. As they listened to my story, my parents' eyes began to shine. So that's how it is. I'm sorry about today, but now I understand the situation. To think you received such a prestigious task from the chief. Leyland, you'll have dinner, won't you? It's best to eat and relax at home before journeying. Mama will take care of that reserve fund. Yes, thank you. I handed the bag of money to my mother. Then we ate dinner as a family. My little brother and sister kept their mouths shut. The entire time, if I addressed them, they answered in quiet voices. Because we were separated when they were little, they probably didn't remember me. But I was sure they'd remember before long if we talked. That night I slept at home. It was a bit cold, but I was filled with nostalgia. The next morning my mother gave me some plain jerky. The price of food here has gone up recently. This is all I could afford with the money. It was less than half the amount I'd buy at the market. Maybe the prices in this village alone had gone up drastically. Or it could have been worldwide, because currency kind of works that way a lot. Especially if you're dealing with it on world levels, but I'm not too sure about our village. All I could guess would be that would depend on if they get traveling merchants or not. I thought this but didn't say anything. Do your best. Thanks, I will. I hugged my mother for the last time. At least I tried to, but she stepped away. Oh, that's right. You've got a baby in there. That's right, it'd be bad if something happened to it. When I get back, I'll make clothes for him, too. You'll be a champion then, won't you? I can't let a champion do something like that. If I became a champion, I would live with my family. If I became a champion, I could live with my family. If I became a champion, I could live with my family. That was what I believed. What I had to believe. I headed to the cave with determination. The village chief saw me off and I continued deeper inside. What happened then? My guess is she ended up on the island, but we'll see. As I continued the way suddenly became brighter. There was scenery I had never seen before. Before I knew it, I was on this island. Yep, I was right. I couldn't figure out how I got here, but I figured there was a dark god on the island. Do you really think? I don't know, but I've searched almost everywhere. If he's here, I'll find him soon. Since he doesn't seem too strong, I can just find him and say it's over. And after that, you can go home? Yes, then I'll live with my family. When I first came to the island, I wanted to get back as soon as I could. That's why I made baby clothes. It wasn't supposed to take this long. Sorry, Leland, about your story just now. What about it? No, never mind, it's nothing. It will be nice to live with your family again, to be a
そう
champion.
ね。私はそれを望んでいた。今も望んでいるわ。
Yes, it will. That's what I've been hoping for, what I still hope
島
for.
に残ろうとは思わないの？
You don't think about staying on this island?
残って
Hunting on the
命令を
island?
破ることになるわ。村長は私を許さない。
Staying would be disregarding my orders. The chief would never forgive
許
me.
してもらう必要なんかないよ。だって帰らないんだもの。
You wouldn't need forgiveness, just don't go home.
その場合だって、私は命令を破った奴隷よ。何の価値があるの？
In that
だっ
case,
て、そんな奴隷は欲しがらないわ。
I'd be disobedient. What's the worth? Hikaru certainly wouldn't want a slave like that. Why are you concerned about this? There's no point in being obedient. You need to live your own life, Leland.
西目くんはリルーちゃんをそんな風に思ってないよ。
Ishime doesn't think of you like that. Ika suddenly jumped up at me and hugged me. When was the last time something like this happened to me?
リルーちゃんは奴隷じゃない。物じゃないんだよ。
You are not a slave, Leland. You are not a thing.
この島の人たちは誰もリルーちゃんを奴隷だなんて思わないし、魔女だから嫌うこともない。
No one on this island thinks of you that way, Leland. No one hates witches either.
使命なんて関係ないんだよ。全部忘れていい。
Forget about orders. Forget about everything.
避けないのね。
You're not avoiding me?
当たり前だよ。
Of course not.
だんだん痛くなってきたわ。
It's starting to hurt a bit.
痛くしてるの。リルーちゃんが二度と変なこと言わないように。
Let it hurt. Never say those awful things again, Leland. I didn't understand, but Higa continued to cling to me. She finally let me go, sniffling.
話してくれてありがとう。
え
ようやくわかったよ。リルーちゃんのこと。
Thank you for telling me your story. I understand you better now,
迷
Leland.
ってるんだね。西目くんと家族とで。
You're torn between Nishime and your
私
family.
は家族と一緒に暮らしたいわ。
I want to live with my family
同じ
again.
くらい西目くんと一緒にいたいんでしょ？認めづらいのは怖いからだよ。
And
拒否さ
at,
れてしまうのが。
and at the same time, you want to be with Nishime, right? But asking him is scary, and so is rejection. Iga concisely summed up the feelings in my heart. When she said it, I thought to myself, that's right.
西目くんはきっと好きだよ。リルーちゃんのこと。
I'm sure Nishime likes you too, Leland.
そんなこと。
I doubt that.
あるよ。
It's true. She said it strongly. Why does she say it so confidently?
西目くんが好きと言ってくれたら、リルーちゃんは家族と西目くん、どちらを選ぶ？
If Nishime said he liked you, would you choose between him and your family?
わからないわ。
I don't know.
じゃあ、一緒に悩もう。私にできることは何でもするから。
Then let's worry together. I'll help however I can.
まず、比嘉が何の得をするの？
But why? What do you get out of this? I think she's doing this out of the kindness of her heart, Leland. Because people can be altruistic like that. You don't always need something out of anything else. But I would be wondering this if I were dealing with the people from the Mormon church who I grew up with. Like, I wouldn't doubt their altruistic thinking, but with how ingrained they are in their religion, that's why I would be thinking, like, what do you get out of this and things like that. Because they are struggling right now from what I have been reading about keeping positions filled in their church is there, but at the same time, the way they go about things just isn't kind of respectful even down to putting people in positions where it's difficult for them to refuse when they should.
おばあちゃんに会わせてくれたお礼。こんなのじゃ全然足りないかもしれないけれど、少しずつ返していくから。
It's thanks for letting me meet Grandma, and this doesn't pay it back at all, but but at least it's something. As I tried to stand up, Higa stopped me. I couldn't understand why she was treating me so nicely. In my head, I knew that she knew what she considered common sense as different from my notion of common sense. And yet somewhere deep down, the me from the time I had been a slave was still there. I didn't know what was right anymore. I held my head in my hands. My chest was full of pain. Was it really okay for me to become happy? Akari point of view. Well, I'm finished with my part. I guess I should check on how Nishime was getting along. Upstairs, Nishime and Kiriko were inspecting the windows together.
なんでキリコがいるんですか?
What are you doing here, Kiriko? I unconsciously raised my voice at Kiriko's betrayal. Wasn't the plan to stick Nishime and Leland together? It doesn't mean anything if Kiriko is with him. It couldn't be that Kiriko also likes Nishime.
なんでというのは、私が聞きたいですわ。
That's what I'd like to know too. Kiriko's face spelled
ヒ
dejection.
カがどうしてもと言って、リルーさんを連れて行ってしまったんですもの。
For some reason, Higa said she had to be with Leland. Ah. Kiriko couldn't do anything in the face of Higa acting like a natural disaster. All you could call it was bad
次
luck.
の手はあるんですか?
Do you have another plan?
これが終わったら考えますわ。
I'll think about it once this is over. Kiriko held her head and sighed. Her sigh passed to me and I lost my spirit as well.
ゲームしよう。
Let's play a game. And the calamities continued. Higa had brought out a deck of cards. I looked at Kiriko to see what she thought, but she shook her
いい
head.
ね。やりたいわ。
Wait. Yeah, it was Kiriko, so I don't get why she's responding. Sounds fun. I want to play. While it was outside the scope of the plan, our target was eager to join in. The situation was out of control. We had to go with the flow.
ゲームって何すんだよ。
What kind of
ト
game?
ランプといえば、あれだよ。あれ。
Cards can only mean one, that one.
わからんわ。
I don't know.
他のみんなはわかるでしょ?
I believe... I bet everyone else knows the one. I don't.
ダメだな。気持ちを一つにしなきゃ。みんな、せーのでトランプといえばあれを言ってみよう。
This is no good. We have to be as one. Everyone on the count of 3 say the name of the game.
せーの。
1, 2, 3. Is it Old Maid? I was kind of curious about that too, but at the same time, I was like, that's not the only card game out there.
大富豪。
Daifugo,
ラミー
Rummy,
セブンブリッジ。
Crazy
口
Eights,
並べ。
Bantan.
ソリティア。
Solitaire is not a multiplayer game, Kanshiro.
バラバラだね。
Everyone said something different.
夕食の時といい、このメンバーは少しも息が合いませんね。てか、ソリティアって舐めてますよね。
It's just like dinner time. We don't think alike at all, but really you said solitaire?
俺 はソリティアが好きなんだよ。悪いか？
I like solitaire. You got a problem with that? Well, solitaire is a single-player game, regardless of the variation you play. Sorry about that. But yeah, solitaire is a different based on the variety you play. There's clock solitaire, where you arrange things in proper order according to a clock, and then there's Klondike that people are familiar with if they've played it on Windows before, but they don't necessarily consider that to be called Klondike. That's just what they refer to when they say solitaire. There's so many variants of it. The solitaire is just a play style.
悪いですわよ。全員で遊べるゲームのアイデアを出してるんですのよ。
I do. You're supposed to come up with something everyone can play.
ラミーはいいのかよ。誰も知らねえぞ、そんなの。
How about Rummy? Has anyone ever even heard of that?
ラミーをご存知ない？まあ、あかりも名前しか知りませんが。
You don't know Rummy? At least I know the name. You're nuts. How about we play rock, paper, scissors, and the winner chooses the game? Well, that could work with 4 people, I'd say. And it sounds fair.
西目くんの案採用。でも、じゃんけんじゃつまらないから、こうしよう。今からお題を出します。
I second Nishime's idea. However, rock, paper, scissors is boring, so let's do this instead. I'll give you a theme.
お題から連想される言葉をみんなで同時に言って、同じことを言った人は脱落。最後に残った2人でじゃんけん。
Say a word you associate with it. If you say the same thing as another person, you're both out. The last 2 people play rock, paper, scissors.
はあ。お題は何ですか？
And what's the
最
theme?
初はね、好きな色。いくよ。せーの。
The first theme is your favorite color. Ready? Go. Blue and green.
白。
White. Red.
金。
Gold.
ピンク。
Pink.
黒。
Black.
被らないなぁ。
Ah, no one matched
あん
up.
たとは気が合わないわね。
We're not on the same
俺
page.
は黒。お前は白。そういうことみてえだな。
I'm black, you're white, that's just how it
何が
is.
そういうことなのよ。
What does that even mean?
一人欲張りな人がいませんでして。
Wasn't one of us a bit greedy? I wanted to end it, but I didn't match anyone.
次は好きな動物。せーの。
Next is your favorite animal. Ready, go. Bird.
牛。
Cow. Dragon. Dog.
ハムスター。
Hamster. Leopard.
また脱落者なしか。
Ah, no one's out again.
おい、赤積み。
Hey,
ドラ
Kitsumi.
ゴンってのはな、人間の上位種族だろうが、それを捕まえて動物？失礼だろ。
Dragons are mightier than humans. You can't just drag them down and call them animals. How disrespectful.
謝れ。
Apologize. Well, humans are animals too.
なんであかりはこんなめちゃめちゃに叱られないといけないんですか？
Why exactly am I getting yelled at so much?
念のため聞きますけれど、リルーさんの牛が好きというのは？
I am asking to be sure, but do you like cows,
美
Leland?
味しいからよ。
They're delicious!
そうですわよね。分かってましたけれども。
Yes, they are. I understand that, I guess. Shouldn't we just do regular paper, rock, scissors?
仕方ないなぁ。そうするか。
I guess you're right. Let's do it. In the end, that was what we did. However, it's hard to figure out how it works with 6 people. Well, actually, yeah, that does make it a bit hard because it's possible for there to be a stalemate between just 3 people. And 6 modulus 3 is equal to 0, so that can help. That can happen with 6.
西目くんとあかりちゃん、ずっとグーとチョキばっかり出してない？
Nishime and Akari, have you two just been throwing rock and scissors the entire time? I want this to side quickly, so I'm just throwing the same
当たりも
thing.
右に同じです。
Same here.
金城がパーを出し続けているので決まりませんわね。
And Kaneshiro, you just keep throwing paper, so it won't just end.
俺は他人に合わせねえ。
I'm not one to follow the crowd. It was a mess. Finally, after a lot of fuss, we decided on Daifugo, which Leland knew how to play.
大富豪といえども、ルールがたくさんあるのではなくて？
Doesn't Daifugo have a lot
デ
of
ィルー
rules?
さんはどこで覚えたんですか？
Where did you learn
イン
them
ター
all?
ネットよ。
The internet. Of course. She told us about a website when we double-checked the rules.
革命と8切りだけ。シンプルですね。
Just Revolution 8-ender, that's simple.
上がれない札があるんだっけ？
What are the high
2
cards?
とジョーカー。8では上がることができません。
2 and Joker, you can't go above an 8.
他のルールは？
Any other
ありま
rules?
せん。
No, that's it.
これじゃつまんねえだろ。もっと増やそうぜ。
That's boring. Let's add more rules. That's kind of how people are with Monopoly a lot of times. And so that's why Monopoly goes long, seemingly. I've only been able to do it in the digital versions like the iPad and Switch, so I don't know for sure how well that goes in real life. But it definitely makes sense on mobile that it definitely goes quicker if you just stick to the standard rules.
まあ、そうですね。西目さん、東京で流行っている最高にクールな大富豪を紹介してください。
Well, I guess that's true. Nishi may teach us the best, coolest version of Daifugo that's popular in Tokyo. I don't think that's famous in Tokyo if he doesn't know it. I guess what's popular would be Dobon Daifugo.
何ですか？そのキメラチックな名前は？
What's up with that unwieldy name? It's a mix of Dobon and Daifugo, so it's got some special rules. According to Nishime, the rules of Daibon Daifugo were as follows. First, there are 2 ways to win a hand. The first was just like regular Daifugo, where you get rid of all the cards in your hand. The other was Dobon. You win that when the sum total of cards in your hand matches the value of the top card on the table. For example, let's say your hand was 3, 4, and 4. The total is 11. And what was the sum supposed to be? The sum total in your heart. Oh, matches the top card. Okay. So 11, which means that would have had to be Jack to be equal to that, or Queen or King. Which means 11, 12, 13. Then if someone played a Jack, which counts as 11, you could declare Dobon and win even on someone else's turn.
とんでもルールですね。というか、あの数字って足すの大変じゃないですか？
That's That's too many rules. I mean, isn't it hard to add up all the cards played? No. No, because it's just what's on top of the discard. So if someone plays 2 10s, it's 20, and if someone plays 2 kings, it's 26.
更新されるんですね。
It keeps changing. On one hand, the total number of cards in your hand will keep decreasing as you play regular Daifugo. But on the other, it makes it more likely that someone will win via Dobon as the hand goes
その
on.
ルールですと革命を不用意に起こせなくなりますわね。
That rule would make it impossible to start revolution by accident. Nice catch. For example, if someone played 4 queens, the total would be 48, and you could call Dobon if you had around 5 cards in your
普
hand.
通の大富豪とは違う戦略になりそうですわね。
It's a much different strategy than regular
足し算
Daifugo.
以外はねえのか？
Only addition, right? You can use more, I just use the rule of only using one of the basic operations. But he said some. Let's see. If your hand was a queen and a 4, there were 4 possible combinations that you could Dobon. 12 times 4 was 48. 12 plus 4 is 16. 12 minus 4 is 8. 12 divided by 4 was 3. So pretty much all the arithmetic as well as that. That's interesting. But that gets complicated, so let's stick with addition to begin
8
with.
とジョーカーはどうなる？
What do 8 and Joker do? You can use an 8 or a Joker to Dobon before they're played. While there can be rules about changing a Joker's value in your hand, it counts as 0.
8で流れなくなるのか？
And
反応
8's
じゃなくなるわけだ。
and 8 stops play, it's all powerful. Yeah, and there's one more important rule. When a Dobon is called on someone, they're also out of the game.
どういうことですか？
What does that mean? If someone calls Dobon on you, you lose.
厳しくないですか？
What? Isn't that too
麻
harsh?
雀みてえだな。何を場に出すか考えるわけか。
It's like Mahjong, it'll make you think about what you're playing. The person who declared Dobon discards all their cards and is the winner. The person who had a Dobon called on them discards all their cards and is the loser, and is out of the game. 2 people would be out of the game at
そ
once.
れ自分で出したカードにドボンすればいいんじゃないの？
So why don't you just Dobon on your own cards? Unfortunately, it's impossible to call on your own cards except in very specific conditions.
なんとなく分かったような、分からないような気がするけど。とり
あ
あえず何回か練習してみよう。
I don't know if I understand it or not, but let's try out a few practice rounds. I was curious about the special conditions, but Higa started dealing out the cards. We decided to ask about any finer details as we played.
最初は普通の大富豪なのね。
At first, it's just regular Daifugo. Leland had the 3 of diamonds, so she went first. In order, smaller numbers were played, 3, 4, 5. On Nishime's turn, he increased the value by playing a king.
強気ですわね。パスですわ。
You're very self-assured.
二人も
Pass.
パスをします。
I passed too. Another round and it was Nishime's turn.
おいおい、そんなに飛ばしていいのか？
Hey, should it be going this fast? One after the other, Nishime played his trump cards. Soon he only had 4 cards left. However, he just used up all his high cards, so most likely he only had low ones left in his hand. It was an it was an inexplicable playstyle. Then the incident happened. Dobon. Nishime declared against the two tens that Kanashiro played. Even though Kanashiro went after Nishime, it was currently Leland's turn. What? My hand is 3, 4, 5, 8. Let's see, since it's just sums, that would be 7, 12, and 20, yep. Which equals 20. I called Dobon on near 2 tens. That means I'm the multimillionaire and you're the pauper. Seriously, what's going on?
手札の残し方がおかしくありませんでして。普通に上がる気がないですわよね。
The way you're playing is so weird. Why don't you win the normal way? Because this is Dobon Daifugu. Okay, I see it a bit more clearly. It's not a game where you have to get rid of all your cards. This time, Nishime's Dobon made him the multimillionaire of Daifugo. The 4 of us left played normally and we decided who is the millionaire, the commoner, and the poor. The second round. I was the commoner and I held a decent hand. I wasn't sure how to win, so I got rid of my lowest cards. In the middle of the round, my hand was a 7. King, 2 aces, and a 2. Okay. So if they're going normal ways, ace would be 1. So, 20, 22, and a 2, so 24 would be my guess. For a total of 24, yeah. It was my turn, and the card I had played on was a 6. A straightforward play would be thrown down on the 7, and I'd probably end up the multi-millionaire. But if I played the king, my hand would equal 11. Wait, the king? Oh, yeah, my hand would equal 11. With 11, I could Dobon on anyone who played a jack and win. Thus, in this version of Daifugo, the correct answer was to play the king. If I played a king, Nishime would play a joker. The round continued and Nishime did just that.
ドボンです、西目さん。
Hehehe. Dobon, Nishime. I caught a glimpse of his hand every now and then. I was triumphant.
私もドボンですわ。
I also have Dobon, but it's the first one that calls. Somehow Kiriko did the same.
この場合はどうなんだ?
What do you do when 2 people say it? It would be the first person that says it, typically. Let's see how they decide it. The last person to declare Dobon is the winner. Oh, the last person, huh? That's interesting. But it makes some sense. Nishime explained how the ranking system worked. Let's say there are 4 people, A, B, C, and D. If B, C, and D, in that order, declare Dobon on the cards played by A, then D, who is last, gets first place, C gets 4th, and B gets 3rd. I don't see that. D gets first, but C should get second, and B gets 3rd, so I don't know what's going on unless it's A that gets 3rd. No, unless A gets 2nd, but we'll see. And for some reason, A gets 2nd place. And even they acknowledge it! The last person to call is first. The next person is last. And so on, going up the rank. going up in rank. This encourages a player to wait until the very last second. Also, you can't Dobon on a card you played unless certain conditions are met, and that is when someone calls it on your card. Then you say Dobon in return. Nishime suddenly showed us his hand. Unless there was a revolution of 3 and 2 4s, it was a bad hand with little chance of winning. However, in this situation, this hand was the strongest. Just now you played Dobon against me, so now I Dobon in return on the same jack that I played.
するとどうなる？
And doing that does... Dobon return is ranked in order. Just like regular
ってことは
Dobon.
最後にドボンを宣言した西目が大富豪で、次に宣言した金髪がビリ。
In this case, that means Nishime is the multimillionaire, Blondie the next one, and is the loser.
なんですって
What?
で、あかりが貧民ですか。なんというシビアな世界。
And I'm the poor, what a cruel world to live
何
in.
もしてないのに、私たち3人で富豪争いだね。
We haven't done anything and we three are the millionaires.
しかも、負けても平民。平和ね。
But whoever loses will be commoner, that's peaceful.
何もしないのが正解だったとは。これは、ちょっと高度な心理戦ですね。
I didn't realize that doing nothing was the right answer. This is some advanced psychological warfare. The game continued and we watched over the peaceful millionaires who were left. All three were well matched. Each had only 2 cards left. These kinds of throwaway matches are common in Daifugo. There wasn't any strategy because whoever had the higher cards won. However, this situation was different. There was Dobon.
いいのか？でかい数字を出してもよ。
Are you sure getting rid of a high card? It was Higa's turn, but it was Kaneshiro who was fearlessly smiling. Kaneshiro and Leland both had 2 cards. With that in mind, taking into account that the Joker is worth 0 points, that meant they could have a total from 1 to 13. So if Higa played the wrong number, she'd have a very high risk of having a Dobon called on her. Eek. She was completely overwhelmed. She should have the advantage of being able to get rid of her cards first, but instead she was hesitant to play. Just what exactly was her hand? Taking a look, she held a king and the 3. I would have played the 3 without hesitation. After thinking about it, Higa finally did just that. In response, Kaneshiro spoke up.
パスだ。
Pass. What? It's... what? The 3 is so low he shouldn't have passed. Unless I had at least 2 3s in my hand, I don't think I'd ever hang on to
どうい
one.
うつもり？
What are you planning? Leland had a vigilant expression. There wasn't a reason not to play a hand. If you didn't get rid of your cards, you wouldn't win. Leland played a 5. Then turned past once more to Higa. In her hand was a king. If she just played it normally, she could win. She could, but
西目くん、上がるときにドボンされたらどうなるの？
Nishime, what happens if Dobon is called on a win? The win is void. It's calculated according to the Dobon ranking.
今それっても大貧民？
What about the current pauper? We've already decided who the multimillionaire, pauper, and commoner are, so we're just deciding who's the lowest rank out of those left. So that was how it was decided. So if Higa had Dobon declared on her, she'd be a commoner. But having Dobon called on you is scary. I understand you, I do.
出すのやめようかな。
I don't want to play anything. We found ourselves in a situation where a player could win but chose not to. We waited with bated breath in a situation that shouldn't happen in Daifugo. But pass. So Higa made the choice not to win even though she could have. On Kanshiro's turn, pass. Kanshiro passed again. He was stubbornly hanging on to his 2 cards. Leland's turn. The 2 others had passed, not playing any cards. Therefore Leland had to play. The fact that it felt like she was being put at a disadvantage by being forced to play cards in Daifugo was a strange feeling. Now her last card was a king.
ドボンだよ。
Dobon. Higa declared Dobon. If she had played her king just a moment ago, Leland would have been the one to call on her. It was the right choice not to win in order to win. We buzzed with excitement at this thrilling turn of events, but suddenly there was an ambush.
俺もドボン。
I've got Dobon too. Kanashiro revealed his hand. His 2 cards were 6 and 7. This guy was waiting for a king all along. It was Dobon once again, and in order from lowest to highest it was Kanashiro, Leland, and then Higa.
頑張ったのに。
I tried so hard too.
あえてパスする判断に舞い上がり、ドボンを焦ったな。
You were excited in your decision to pass and were too eager to Dobon.
最後の局面、全員が13でドボンできる状況だったんですのね。
So
そし
in,
て上がった方が負ける。
so in this
これは
in,
もはや別のゲームですわ。
so in this instance, everyone could Dobon on a total of 13. Whoever won would have lost. This is a completely different game. We finally understood what Dobon Daifugo was all about. It was a completely different wolf in Daifugo's
気
clothing.
に食わないわ。もう一度よ。
I don't like it. Let's do it again. Leland, despite her frustration, dealt the cards again. It seemed like there might have been something important about that, but we kept playing for a long time, completely absorbed in the game.
よーし、次からは罰ゲームを入れよう。
Alright, next is a punishment game. As we began to understand the rules and the atmosphere heated up, he raised a suggestion. A punishment
だ
game?
から大富豪になった人が他の人に命令できるの。
The pauper of the next game has to listen to the other's orders. I don't get that. But okay. Such as...
1番と3番がポッキーゲームとか。
Like number 1 and 3 have to play the pokey game, where both start eating the same pokey from either end. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's just the king's game. Yep. Exactly.
それがやりたいの。
Yes, I want to do that. But what's funnier, it's not in here, but in an anime called Defrag. The King's Game was the game that decided the winner between 2 people. But this just seems kind of dull in comparison to that. Yes, I want to do that. The King's Game is a simple game where everyone draws straws to figure out who's the king and the others have to follow their orders. Aside from the king, the other lots had numbers on them, and the orders were for the person who held that number. Who did what to whom upon being ordered was entirely based on chance. As you might have guessed, this was a well-known pastime for co-ed school trips and the like. I've got a bad feeling about this. Alright. Feels like I need to take a break for the bathroom and to get a drink. So be right back. You guys do the same. Alright, I'm back. Let's see. We're close on time, so we'll see how long things go. And then I'll probably call it so I can have a break. Alright. Let's see. So here we are. I've got a bad feeling about this.
何を言ってるの西目くん。勝てばいいんだよ。勝てば。
What are you saying, Nishime? As long as you win, it'll be fine as long as you win. Ego is excited, even though she didn't have a high chance of winning. Though it might have been suspected that she had masochistic tendencies, I saw her real objective. Iga seemingly reached the same conclusion as Kiriko, and this was her way of saying she agreed. Iga is going to punish Nishime and Leland somehow, get them to make out. Oh my gosh. And she's supposed to be the adult here. With everyone's excitement on the rise, I was sure that Nishime would have the courage to tell Leland about his feelings. I marveled at her elaborate plan. As expected of a battle-hardened adult, it was carefully executed. But in that case, our role as underlings was to set up Higa for a win. I did my best to thwart Nishime.
ドボーン
Dobon! You had a 2 and an 8. We managed to sport Higa's trick tactics and bring about her first victory. After her win, we losers drew lots.
では大富豪が罰ゲームを決めます
Okay, it's time for the Daifugo Punishment Game.
1番と3番がポッキーゲーム
Number 1 and number 3, play the Pokey Game. She chose the exact same punishment she used in her example. Nishime looked sick. I wonder who they are. He looked hopelessly at the lot he had drawn.
さあ3番のくじを持っているのは誰かな
Now then I wonder who drew 3. Make it Kaneshiro and give us some laughs. Higa gave Leland a sidelong glance.
私は5番でしたわ
I'm 5. Kiriko drew the net tighter. I continued to apply the pressure when I showed I was number 4.
3番は
I guess I'm 3. Oh my gosh! They did it!
いや、なんでですか？どうしてそうなるんですか？
What? Why? How come?
どうしてもこうしてもあるか言いちまったんだから仕方ねえだろ
What do you mean, how come? It's what I drew, that's all. This wasn't right, was it?
では西目くんと金城くんでポッキーゲームイエーイ
And she has no problem. Okay, so Nishime and Kanshiro have to play the Pokey game. Yay! Ego was in very high spirits. Out of nowhere, she pulled out some Pokey. She gave it to Kaneshiro and cheered. When I looked at Kiriko, she looked troubled and turned away. I got a very bad feeling. Could it be that Higa wasn't actually planning anything? I couldn't bear it if it was really just a randomly selected punishment game. One wrong step and I'd be in one. I hated this with all my heart.
ほらポッキーポッキー
Come on, Pokey, Pokey! Regardless of our feelings, Higa put it into Kaneshiro's mouth. In her other hand, which had been empty, was a beer bottle which shouldn't have been there. She's drunk!
比嘉さん、こんなことはやめるべきです。人の道に戻りましょう。
Higa, stop this. Why don't you come back to the straight and narrow? I tried to make an appeal while the cards were being dealt out, but my desperate words fell on deaf ears. No matter what I said, her only reply was, "If you have the strength, go ahead and stop me." Might is right in this world.
諦めてくださいまし私たちは理不尽な罰ゲームに怯えながらドボン大富豪をするしかないんですわ
Just give it up. All we can do is play Dobon Daifugo while fearing these ridiculous punishments. No way! So after getting our fill of the nervous Pokey game, boys, we threw ourselves into a game that we couldn't afford to lose. 2 hours passed. The fun had been welcome, but if we didn't start moving, we'd lose our opportunity. Higa had continued drinking beer. She wouldn't sober up if she was left alone. I gave Higa some advice. Higa?
なーに
Why? I quietly explained the situation to her out in the hallway.
なるほどね。
I see.
そういうことなんです。ご理解いただけましたか？
That's the long and short of it. Do you
理
understand?
解。
Understood.
トランプはそろそろ終わりということで。
So then let's wrap up the card game and then...
あのね、
Hey,
ち
Kari?
ゃん。
Hey, Kari? She suddenly pulled her finger to my finger on my
い
lips.
じくり回してもいいことはないよ。自然にやるのが一番なんだから。
It's best not to interfere with these things and let nature take its course. She spoke calmly. She was strangely persuasive for being drunk.
比嘉さんには何か考えがあるんですか？
What do you think we should do,
祈
Higa?
ってるんだよ。
Pray.
祈るとは何をですか？
What do you mean, pray?
富士の神様に素敵な巡り合わせがありますようにって。
I'm sure the god of chance has a wonderful coincidence in stone. I know, not in stone, in store.
王様ゲームのことですか？そんなのくじを細工すればいいだけではないですか？
You mean the king's game? Shouldn't we just rig who draws what number?
私、嘘をつくのが下手だから器用なことはできません。
I'm not good at lying, so I couldn't do anything that
それ
sneaky.
なら他の人にやらせてもいいと思いますが。
Then let someone else do that part.
運命だよ。
It's fate.
運命？
Fate?
運命が導くならね。二人はきっと巡り合うんだよ。
If it's fated,
私はただそれを待つだけなんだよ。
if it's fated to be, those two will come together. I'm just waiting for that. Higa said this while smiling radiantly. For better or worse, it was a romantic way of thinking. And maybe that was the adult way. Kiriko and I were excited to use our power to help them. We didn't even think to watch over them like Higa did. If they're fated to be, those two will come
そ
together.
のフレーズ、少しだけ気に入りましたよ。
I like
比嘉
that.
さんに任せてもいいような気がしてきました。
I like that line just a bit. I'm starting to think I should leave things to you, Higa.
参ったな。勝ち続けないといけなくなっちゃった。
Well then, I've gotta keep winning. It wasn't that she had to be the one to win. But after that declaration, it kept happening. She was even able to beat Nishime. The punishments were all chosen to and to bring the two into close proximity, from the Poke game to feeding each other. So far, the pairings always end up being Nishime and Kanashiro. Somehow there was an unusually high probability of those two being paired. Is this what fate has in store for them? I wondered a little excitedly.
の罰ゲームはね、2番が4番にギューってするの。
Next punishment game, number 2 and number 4 have to hug. Nishime once again looked sick. Based on how things have been going, Kanashiro would be his partner.
違うぞ。やった。
It's not me! Yes, I finally escaped! He happily showed the number 5 on his lot. With trepidation, I looked at my own. I was number 1.
4番は誰かな？
I wonder who's got 4.
私ね。
It's me. Leland raised her hand. At that moment, I believed in the god of chance. Fate had guided them together. Seriously? Nishime's face had quickly gone bright red. He was happy and embarrassed at the same time.
ヒューヒュー、いっちゃえ男の子。
Woohoo, go on, young man! Ika cheered. Kiriko and I exchanged looks, growing excited considering the situation. Outside the heat and the atmosphere, there was some tension between them. That didn't mean that Nishime and Leland had a bad relationship. It was normal for King's games, from my observations. Leland made the first move. She lowered her crossed arms. Not that she wasn't embarrassed, her ears turned red.
罰ゲームなんでしょ。さっさとすれば。
It's a punishment game, shall we get on with it? On the other hand, Nishime looked pale. He gulped at Leland's defenseless form, but he didn't move. The tension was so high, if something didn't happen soon, I'd burst. Even so, Nishime didn't move. No, I mean, isn't this unethical? I mean, isn't this going too far? Oh, on he went, trying to find a way to escape. Was he really a guy? I was tempted to give him a push, but I knew that outside interference wouldn't help him. If he didn't move, then this would be for nothing.
そんなに嫌なの?
You don't want to? Eventually, Leland grew impatient. How humiliating for a guy not to want to hug you, even as a punishment game. Anyone would be upset about that. That's not it.
何?
Then what? Well, how do I put it? I suddenly had a thought. It's most likely he was shy. What clued me in was the sad expression on his face, like he was afraid of something. But what in the world could he be frightened of? Enough. Leland headed as if to push him away. At that moment, when the situation was at its most dire, whatever God was watching us made a decisive move. Eek!
なんだ真っ暗になったぞ
What? It's gone pitch black. That scared me. What was that lightning? The power went out and I couldn't see anything.
動かないで
No one move. Hirako turned on the flashlight on her phone. I followed suit, but it wasn't enough to illuminate the whole living room.
黒だにゃ誰かにいたずらしたくなるにゃ
It's categorically dark. Some feline-ish person is playing a trick. It's playing a trick on us.
ここのあなた酔っていてもやってはいけないことがあるのはご存知かしら
Listen, there are some jokes you shouldn't make even if you're drunk. You know that, right?
ご存知にゃ
I'll put a pause on that. On it.
彼女を可能な限り抑えておきなさい
Kaneshiro, hold her down as long as you can. Time's about up, so I'm gonna let this play out and then call it a day. At least as long as there's an image up. If there's not, then we'll go until there's an image. I want the lights back on at least. Sure, hold her down as long as you can.
死んだら骨は拾ってくれ
Take care of my remains after I die. You don't have any spare lamps? You don't have any spare
何を
lamps?
言っているんですか西目さんあかりにはオリジナルボディ以外の予備はいませんよ
What are
エ
you...
ヴァのパイロットじゃあるまいし
Okay, that's a typo there. What are you talking about, Nishime? Aren't I bright enough for you? But all we have is my original body. We don't have spares. I'm not a Beva pilot. You can't light up the room, Makari. You just shut up. Finally he said it. Felt like punching her in the face right there, but in the dark I don't think her face would be easy to find.
一応懐中電灯を用意しておりますわ
There's a flashlight for emergencies.
あれつきませんわね
It won't turn
プラ
on.
グの回収早すぎません
Starting with the Starting with the cliches already. Are the batteries in?
昼に確認した時はついたんですもの
It turned on today when I checked. Jericho tried banging on the flashlight and reinserting the batteries, but the living room remained dark. It'd be difficult to continue our card game like this. My greatest fear was if this continued, we'd all go our separate ways. Though it had nothing to do with me, I was horrified at leaving the previous unpleasantness unaddressed. Do you have any candles?
ああ、その手は。ろうそくなら倉庫にありますけれど、倉庫
Oh,
は外ですわ。
oh, that's an idea. We should have some in the storehouse, which is outside. Well, it'll be better than being in the dark. I'll go.
危険ですわ。
It's dangerous. It's right there, isn't it? I saw it when I got here. He likely just wanted to run away. I think everyone understood how Nishime felt.
せめて二人で行ってくださいまし。金城。
Well, at least go with someone, Kanashiro.
Hey, hey.
Yeah, yeah.
ダメ。金城君は私のお世話係にも。
No, I need him to take care of me.
酔っ払いすぎですわよ。金城以外に適任はいないんですもの。
You're much too drunk. There isn't anyone else who can go aside from him, is there?
私が行くわ。
I'll go. Leland surprised me by volunteering. It would obviously be an awkward situation. However, it was true there was no one else who could. Well, let's go. Nishime answered in a weak voice. There was a far-off bolt of lightning. The wind blew even harder. I was nervous. However, I couldn't see any other options. There wasn't anything I could do about it. Hikaru. Alright, this seems like a good place to stop it, so I'm gonna save here. And call it a day. I thank you all for coming. If you're watching this on YouTube and you enjoyed this, be sure to leave a like, and if you want to chill with me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to hopefully be notified of when I'll be streaming again. If you're on Twitch, you guys know what to do. As for when I'll be streaming again, I am thinking of streaming again tomorrow, but I'm not too sure of the time yet. That just depends on what I have around here. So check my socials on that. And with that out of the way, let me check on somebody to raid. Okay. Okay, it looks like a Buckeye is potentially streaming, but let me check on if they are. If he is, and if he is, then we're raiding to him again. Looks like he is live, so we are gonna raid a raging Buckeye. He's a cool dude. Nice and chill. Plays a lot of survival and other things. He's playing, I want to say, Marvel Rivals right now. Send him my regards and tell him that I'll be there as soon as I can. And with that out of the way, I thank you all again for coming. Bye!